four gunmen who cut off the CCTV. He came out to investigate, ambushed him outside his home.
Recapping the top story, DA leader John Steenhuisen is today expected to address the media in Durban, where he started his political career 30 years ago. SABC News has reliably learnt that he will not stand for re-election at the party's forthcoming Federal Congress. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines. Soccer action. Orlando Pirates surged to the top of the Betway Premiership after a win over Amazulu. And we also bring you cricket news. The Proteas back on the World Cup stage, heading into the T20 showpiece with renewed belief. We'll have all the details just before 6:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. We start down in Cape Town with a crash on the busy N1 inbound just around Old Oak Road. So quite a heavy backlog already coming through Brackenfell on that N1 in towards the Belleville exits. Very heavy into that crash. Staying in Cape Town, the N2 inbound passing Khayelitsha towards the airport runway. Also looking fairly busy as well. A lot of mist warning, heavy mist, poor visibility around parts of Mpumalanga, regional areas of Middelburg and around Emalafeni. You'll need to go carefully out that way, please. Got a breakdown on the N3 going north near Modderfontein Road, so getting up through Edenvale in towards Alex. That traffic already slow going. And if you're on your way to Durban, coming through Escort, just by the Escort South area, report of a collision there. A lot of roadworks going on in that section, so just expect some additional delays. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
7 minutes after 6. 7 minutes after 6. Today is Wednesday, the 4th of February, 2026. Live and direct from our studios at Radio Park Building here at SABC HQ in Auckland Park in Johannesburg, to wherever you're hearing us from this morning. In every city, every town, Dorpi, township, Kasi, village and hamlet. From the highways to the byways, from the hinterland to the heartland. Good morning to you. You're tuned in for the Wednesday edition of the Morning Brief. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. Among some of what we will tell you over the next 3 hours: the cat, his nephew, and the 750 firearms. Ghosts of late former Deputy President David Mabuza's mixed reputation return to haunt the country as a senior police officer at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry is forced to explain why alleged gun deal WhatsApp messages on his phone appeared to come from the late former Deputy President David Mabuza. Testifying from an undisclosed location, the officer, known for purposes of the inquiry only as Witness F, admitted that the messages exist, including images and videos and offers involving hundreds of firearms, but insisted that they were not sent by Mabuza himself. Instead, he claims the messages came from Mabuza's nephew, Simpiwe, despite saving the contact number on his phone, Witness F's phone, under the name, and I quote, Comrade D.D. Mabuza, Deputy President, end quote. So the explanation has drawn sharp skepticism, as you can imagine, from commissioners and evidence leaders who say it would be easy to establish who the number belonged to. So I guess that's the next step. The number is saved as Comrade D.D. Mabuza, Deputy President, and it sent messages and videos of firearms and inquired about whether or not Witness F had a quote-unquote market for those 750 firearms, outlining how much per batch it would all cost. Witness F insists that it's not the late former Deputy President, but rather his nephew. And as I say, I guess the next step for us to unravel is exactly that, verifying whose number that is saved as Comrade D.D. Mabuza, Deputy President, on Witness F's phone. Color me intrigued. So that is the situation. We'll speak to Kenny Mapanga, who will do extensive reporting, as she always does, at 7:10 on what transpired during the day's testimony yesterday, including playing you a clip, because we thought, in case you missed it, we'll play it back for you. We try to make it as lengthy as we possibly can accommodate so that you have as much of the context as possible. Johnny be gone? Well, is he? Or is he not about to be Johnny be gone? The Democratic Alliance appears to be heading for a major leadership shake-up, with John Steenhuisen widely expected to announce that he will not seek re-election as party leader. And if that is the announcement he's going to make, it's possibly the worst-kept secret in politics. Widespread reporting, including SABC News, Business Day, Daily Maverick, all of them citing senior sources within the DA, saying that Steenhuisen is set to make that announcement when he addresses a highly anticipated media briefing today, potentially ending months of internal speculation and maneuverings. To be clear, the reports are suggesting that Steenhuisen will announce that he will not seek re-election as federal leader at the party's Congress coming up in April. But he is warning against speculation, going as far as invoking 1948 U.S. political imagery of then U.S. President Harry S. Truman holding up the front page of the Chicago Tribune that had incorrectly predicted that he would lose. It had incorrectly predicted the election outcome with a bold front page headline that said, "Dewey defeats Truman." So he's using that as John Steenhuisen to say, hold your horses. Don't believe the speculation until I come with the true facts when I address that media. That media briefing is coming up, by the way, at 10 a.m. This morning. So much anticipated. What we will do is at 7:20, we'll speak to Professor Jolene Steenkotze, who is Chief Research Specialist in the developmental capable and ethical state research division of the Human Sciences Research Council. She's been tracking the Democratic Alliance as a political party for many, many years. And of course, we'll then talk to Tony Leon, former leader of the party, at 7:40. Lastly, the country's prisons are bursting at the seams, with overcrowding at levels that the correctional system has never had to manage before. The National Commissioner Makgoti Thobagale says the inmate population surged to more than 170,000 over the festive season, around 60,000 more people than the system has beds for. So he's told a media briefing that almost every facility in the country is operating at more than 150% of its capacity, describing the system under immense pressure from infrastructure and staffing to security and budgets. Makgoti Thobagale, the National Correctional Services Commissioner, will join me with that conversation a bit later on to unpack that situation. In fact, at about 7:10 this morning. The formidable Morning Brief team is ready, willing and able to serve up your updates throughout the morning. And Musa has your half-hourly news updates throughout the 3 hours. Zaikan giving you updates on sport. Rob Byrne watching the country's highways and byways and reporting to you every 20 minutes or so. Melissa Puta coming into studio promptly with the Morning Brief in brief. And Dowling Lechela always right on the money with updates on business and economics. And Sipho Mantula coming up with the Africa update at about 7:20 this morning. In it all, let's continue to lead the conversations that move us. The number to dial 086 000 2032. 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes 0614 104 107. This is the Morning Brief. Context, consequence, and conversation starting now.
For news on South African industry and mining, Creamer Media's Engineering News and Mining Weekly has you covered. Click through to Creamer Media's Engineering News each day for the latest on the people and companies shaping the energy transition and South African industry. Keep your finger on the critical minerals pulse by visiting Creamer Media's Mining Weekly. For deeper insight, subscribe to the Engineering News and Mining Weekly magazine, out on Fridays. Creamer Media, current, credible, comprehensive.
It is time for incredible action on the tennis court. Mzansi Africa clashes with Montenegro. Emotions are pumped up by passion and thirst for victory. This is the Davis Cup World Group 2 playoff tie. Witness the World Cup of Tennis. Renault South Africa Davis Cup team versus Montenegro on Saturday 7 February at 11 a.m. Then on Sunday 8 February at 10 a.m. Live on SABC Plus, SABC 3 and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
This message is brought to you by Eskom, redefining for a better future.
Hey South Africa, want to keep your lights on and save money? Let's use electricity wisely. It's easier than you think. Switch off lights when you leave a room, unplug chargers and appliances, and use energy-saving bulbs. They last longer and use less power. Every little bit helps for your home, your wallet, and our planet.
Let's make it a habit and use electricity wisely. Eskom.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
Melissa Buta here to kick us off with the morning brief in brief. Melissa, good morning. Let's talk correctional services and what the Minister Peter Groenewald is saying about the need for another independent commission. Once again.
Another one. Good morning.
What are we probing this time?
So this time, Correctional Services Minister Peter Groenewald has called for an independent commission to investigate instability and alleged corruption in the Western Cape prisons, especially Goodwood and Paulsmoor. The move follows serious incidents, including inmate deaths, initially misclassified, assaults on officials, and a deliberate escape facilitated by operational failures. Investigations revealed systematic problems in leadership, risk assessment, gang management, and use of force compliance with disciplinary and criminal actions underway. Due to an entrenched gangsterism and collapsed internal controls, external oversight has been recommended to prevent ongoing violence and instability, which experts say is largely preventable.
Why are the words dysfunctional, financially unstable, and operating in a climate of fear being used to describe the RAF, Road Accident Fund?
So the Road Accident Fund has been described by its interim board as largely dysfunctional, financially unstable, and operating in a climate of fear. Interim Chair Kenneth Brown told Parliament that the outdated paper-based claim system is inefficient and inhumane, particularly in death claims. The RAF faces precarious finances with December obligations of about 20 billion rand against less than 5 billion rand in reserves, worsened by a loss court case of regarding the 180-day claims moratorium. You're giving me the word jumble. The board also identified serious HR issues, including 300 suspended staffs left without duties and the hiring of around 400 additional employees, making reform a massive and difficult task. So quite a lot of chaos seems to be unfolding within the RAF.
Yeah, I stopped by the RAF last week on Friday doing candidate attorney things, and it coincided with the time when Scopa was doing their oversight, and I was treated
interesting times.
I was treated like a VIP. Okay, I'm not saying it was because Scopa were there, but the leadership was there, the board was there, Scopa was there. It was nice.
It must have been intense.
Got my things done very nice and quickly. Tell me about this challenge around Morwadi Cholota's extradition. That continues, yeah?
Yes. So the legality of Morwadi Cholota's extradition from the US is under renewed scrutiny. Her legal team argues that South African authorities misled US officials to secure her return in the 255 million rand Free State asbestos corruption case. Cholota, a former aide to ex-premier Ace Magashule, was extradited in August of 2024, but the Constitutional Court ruled in January of this year that the NPA lacked authority, making the extradition unlawful. The case has been sent back to the Free State High Court for further arguments, and her lawyers maintain she was cooperative, never a fugitive, and initially treated as a state witness, claiming her rights were violated and the state misrepresented her as a flight risk. The NPA contends there was sufficient evidence linking her to the offences and that she later became uncooperative. Judge Philip Loopster is set to rule on the 18th of February. So that will be interesting to see if anything changes in that regard.
All right, I suppose they're giving it another take immediately after that outcome that said the extradition was unlawful, but it didn't strip the court in the Free State of its jurisdiction. So I guess they have another take on that. Melissa, thank you. That's Melissa Puta with the Morning Brief in brief.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
On the weather front, there's one warning that has come through. It's a yellow level 2 warning, and it is in place for places over the northeastern parts of the Western Cape and over the Eastern Cape, except along the coast west of East London. That yellow level 2 warning is for severe thunderstorms with heavy downpours leading to localized flooding of susceptible roads, low-lying areas and bridges, as well as damaging winds, excessive lightning and hail resulting in damage to infrastructure and settlements. There's an advisory. It is for a heat wave with persistently high temperatures, and that is expected in places over the Free State and the northern parts of the Eastern Cape. The rest of your weather looks like this. Pretoria, fine becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon with a minimum of 17 and a maximum of 32. Johannesburg, fine becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon, 16 to 30. Vereeniging, fine becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon, 17 to 31. Mbombela will have morning fog patches, otherwise partly cloudy, 19 to 29. Polokwane will be partly cloudy, 17 to 29. Mahikeng, partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers, 18 to 33. Bloemfontein, partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers, 21 to 37. Kimberley, partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers, 22 to 38. Uppington, partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers, 24 to 40. Cape Town will be cloudy at times with isolated showers and thunder showers, 21 to 31. George, cloudy at times with scattered showers and thunder showers, 20 to 25. Gqeberha, cloudy at times with scattered afternoon thunder showers, 22 to 29. East London, cloudy at times with scattered showers and thunder showers with a minimum of 22 and a maximum of 30. Durban will be partly cloudy with isolated late afternoon thunder showers, 24 to 32. Richards Bay, partly cloudy, 22 to 33. Pietermaritzburg will have morning fog, otherwise partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers, 21 to 34.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
It's coming up to 23 minutes after 6. Let's focus on the war in Ukraine. Russia has carried out its largest ballistic missile attack of the year against Ukraine's energy infrastructure, striking power plants and heating facilities during some of the coldest days of winter. President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine says Moscow is deliberately escalating the war and using the cold as a weapon against civilians, calling on Ukraine's allies to increase pressure on Russia. Let's unpack all of this with Roland Hanwood, political scientist and commentator at the University of Pretoria. Good morning to you, Roland, and thank you for your time. We'll turn to the tripartite, trilateral negotiations and talks in a moment, but just the symbolism and significance of an attack of this nature. We're told more than 450 drones, 70 ballistic and cruise missiles in one night, which happened to be the coldest period in the winter of Ukraine. What is the symbolism and significance of launching an attack like that on the energy infrastructure at a time like this?
I think it's significant in a symbolic way. What President Putin is doing is to say, I will negotiate for peace on my terms. I had a weekend truce on the energy infrastructure that Mr. Trump asked me to maintain. The truce is over. I'm attacking your energy infrastructure again. He's sending a message to the US that you will not tell me what to do. I will cooperate if it suits me. Otherwise, I do what I see best. To the Ukrainian people, it's not a symbolic message. It's a very direct message that He wants to break the spirit. He wants to drive a wedge between the leadership and the people. And one way of doing that is to make sure the people suffer severely. And this is exactly what he's doing. He has no care if this is civilian infrastructure. He has no care if this is a contravention of the laws of war. This is brutal warfare at its best. And that is the message he is sending to the people of Ukraine. The question one has to ask is, to what extent is the negotiations that are happening a way of delaying some of what is happening, from, especially in terms of Mr. Putin's objectives? It is clear that President Zelensky is under huge pressure on the military front. Ukraine is suffering badly. The US is not giving it the support that it used to give. Most of the support, also in terms of military hardware, comes from NATO and Europe, but it's not sufficient. And that puts Ukraine in a very difficult position. My sense is that the Trump administration approach is to put Ukraine under pressure, not completely cut them off, but to put them under enough pressure that they basically agree to whatever is on the table that satisfies the US. And Putin is playing into that. He sees an opportunity probably that he can now drive this process and get at least the Donbas and the eastern regions that he wants, regardless of the cost. He will get that, and that will be some kind of a victory for him.
And you set out that context. I think let's say a bit more about the diplomatic context. Mark Rutte from NATO visited Kyiv in the wake of those attacks on Tuesday, but also these attacks come ahead of the U.S. coordinated talks between Ukraine and Russia that will be happening in Abu Dhabi. What's on the table in those talks, and how far apart are the different sides on the issues that could perhaps lead to a kind of a truce at some point?
Well, I think how far apart or how close is open to conjecture. On the one hand, you hear that we're not that far apart. There's agreement on many issues. But the sticking points are the most difficult ones, and are the ones that is causing this war to continue and also prevented previous negotiations to lead to anything. And that is the question of giving up territory to Russia. And there are many issues with that. There are legal issues. There's the issue of satisfying the brutal attack, and what message are you sending to leaders if you do that? It also asks very important questions about the solidarity that Europe and NATO says it provides and has with Ukraine, but it also gives us a different perspective on the kind of politics the Trump administration is willing to play in order to get what it wants. So there are many issues that is unresolved. On the one hand, yes, there seems to be movement. On the other hand, difficult to determine exactly how close. And the issue in the end seems to be who's willing to capitulate. Will Zelensky be forced to give in to at least the minimum that Russia wants, or will Russia be forced to settle for less than what it wants? And then after that comes the big issue. Who will guarantee that peace? Because it is very clear that this is not a peace agreement in the sense that we've had enough of fighting. It's an enforced peace agreement. And we see that as the pattern emerging from Washington. You force people into peace agreements, but you don't address the fundamentals that caused the conflict in the first place. Now, that can endure if you maintain the pressure and the force, but we've seen in the past that with the moment that pressure is released, the conflict will continue. So it seems a negative context in which one is looking at this.
Yeah.
The other issue is that Putin is playing the negotiations. He stops. There's a meeting, he has a very massive and a brutal attack, and then they stop and there's negotiation. So the military campaign now seems to be integrated with the diplomatic process. It doesn't make it better, it doesn't make it less brutal, but at least there's movement on the negotiations part.
And what do we gauge to be the resilience of the Ukrainians? Because many thought this would be a swift called special military operation when it started in 2022. But almost 4 years later, here we are. But Russia making some progress in some regions, territorial gains, and the aerial bombardment campaign unrelenting, especially being hit during the coldest parts of winter. What do we gauge to be the morale and the resilience of the Ukrainian public?
That's very difficult to determine. So far, it seems, but this is, there's no numbers or anything. It seems that there's a very deep level of resilience, and that the anti-Russian sentiment in Ukraine is probably growing. But there are definitely parts where people are starting to feel the effect and probably just want to get out of the war at any cost. The question is, how do you keep it together? What makes it difficult is the fact that NATO and the Europeans are saying, we are with you, we are your allies, we will guarantee the peace. At this stage, NATO and the European consortium provide 75 to 90% of all the missiles and defensive needs of Ukraine. But it's not enough. That's why we see not the number of missiles that the Russians are firing, but how many of these missiles actually hit their targets. That's a result of not having sufficient defensive capabilities. And that is where the US comes in, where they provided in the past. They are now putting a lot of pressure on Ukraine by not giving them what they used to get. And that is also going to affect the morale of the people and the way in which they engage going forward.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. As always, Roland Henwood, political scientist and commentator at University of Pretoria. Let's go to Ann Musa on standby with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, U.S. authorities have reauthorized the African Growth and Opportunity Act. The program has now passed both the House of Representatives and the Senate. In a vote on Friday, the Senate whittled down to 12 months, a 3-year extension that the House had passed earlier. DA leader John Steenhuisen is today expected to address the media in Durban, where he started his political career 30 years ago. SABC News has reliably learnt that he will not stand for re-election at the party's forthcoming Federal Congress. And Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, the second son of Libya's late former leader Muammar Gaddafi, has reportedly been shot dead. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Eastern Cape first up. The N9, N10 routes through the Middelburg area. Reports of protesting out that side this morning. So if you are driving that part of the country, N9, N10 around Middelburg, just be aware of that. It looks like there might be some trucks blockading a section of roadway there on that run through the Middelburg area. We'll keep you up to date with that. Couple of cars involved in the blockade as well. So Middelburg area, try and travel later today. Joburg side, the N1 going north is heavy, coming out of Soweto. Crashed by 14th Avenue. Big delays already back through Gordon Road. Heavy on the N1 north to Diepkloof if you're trying to get through towards Uncle Charlie's. Jam-packed again today. N3 north quite heavy as well, getting up into the Bedford View area. Durban side, a collision on the Komashu Highway at Malindela. If you're coming out of Komashu area, watch for some delays there. Cliffdale Key Ridge looking okay. No problems, no breakdowns this morning at this stage. And if you're into Cape Town, it looks to be a heavy Wednesday. We've got a crash on the N1 inbound at Old Oak Road. That's pushed traffic right back to Kryfontein. That's two-lane section of the N1 inbound, Kryfontein through Brackenfell in towards Belleville. Very heavy. Behind that, the R300 queues heavily coming up from Brackenfell to get into that N1. And just another barometer of how busy it is. The N2 queuing up passing Khayelitsha towards the airport runway, and the M5 already backing up from Ottery all the way through towards the N2 highway. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey Zai, good morning to you. So Amapagapaga have gone to the top, have they?
Oh, yeah.
All the
they
way.
are on top. Yeah. Suddenly everyone's checking the log this morning, eh?
Zelma says she didn't. For obvious reasons.
For obvious reasons. Yeah, Zelma didn't have an alarm today, but Chip, it's okay. It's okay. Orlando Pirates, top of the Betway Premiership. 2-0 was their win over Amazulu at Moses Mabhida Stadium last night. The Buccaneers' victory lifted them 3 points clear of the defending champions. Mamelodi Sundowns coach Abdusalam Wadu's men remain in Durban, and that's for their Nedbank Cup round of 32 clash against Shakuma. Now, Amazulu missed the chance to go top themselves. They stay fourth in the standings. Arthur Zwane's side will turn their focus to their Nedbank Cup tie, and that's against Polokwane City on the 10th of February. Let's go to the story where the Lions captain Frank Horn says processing the heavy weekend loss to the Bulls has been challenging for the squad, but insists the group is determined to regroup and respond.
Obviously, we'll take this loss at home quite hard. Like Coach said, we have a week off now to really switch off, and then when we come back, have a look at what we did not good and how we can rectify that and put all our baskets into the URC, or all our eggs in one basket for the URC, and really focus on that. But I have no doubt that the guys will step out of this and we'll go forward.
On to cricket, the Proteas begin yet another T20 World Cup campaign this weekend, opening their Group D account against Canada, and that's on Monday in India and Sri Lanka. South Africa arrived with renewed confidence after recent T20 series wins and strong SA20 form led by a resurgent Quinton de Kock. More cricket, Western Province cruised to a dominant innings and a 141-run victory over the Gold Rush Boland in their Cricket South Africa 4-day series clash at Boland Park. And more cricket, England have booked their place in the ICC Under-19 Cricket World Cup final after defeating the defending champions Australia by 27 runs in the semi-final that took place in Bulawayo. And that's your sport. We'll have more. Swing back, top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Hey, Ndowling, good morning to you. For our first update, let's start with pharmaceuticals. Tell me about Pfizer betting on obesity drugs to fuel their growth.
Morning, Tulas. Now, Pfizer flagged progress in its obesity treatment as it reported quarterly results that beat expectations, even as demand for its COVID products wanes. Now, interim data from its new once-a-month obesity injection, acquired in its roughly $10 billion purchase of Metsera, showed up to about 12.3% weight loss in a mid-stage trial, pointing to potential future earnings growth from obesity drugs. Now, despite the positive data, Pfizer's shares ended yesterday in the red as investors weighed mixed results and strong competition in that market from established players like Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk. Investors were also not impressed by the firm's outlook. Pfizer reaffirmed its 2026 outlook of flat revenue growth of around, or rather of flat revenue around $59.5 billion to $62.5 billion as price pressures and declining COVID vaccine sales continue to challenge near-term growth.
And here's a brand that we haven't talked about in a while, Nintendo.
Yeah.
Tell me about them and their warning of a memory chip shortage.
Yeah, another warning sign around that market, Tulas, and this time from Nintendo. The gaming giant flagged ongoing pressure from soaring memory costs and missed revenue expectations, even as profits beat forecasts. Now, Nintendo reported a 24% jump in profits, helped by strong sales of the Switch console, now its best-selling console ever, with revenue up 86%. But investors are uneasy because memory prices are surging due to supply constraints, high demand for electronics, and ongoing factory disruptions. Analysts warn the shortage could squeeze margins if costs remain elevated. Concerns also raised recently by Apple. Now, Nintendo's president says the impact is manageable for now, but acknowledged longer-term risks. The company has kept its full-year switch to sales forecast unchanged, with major game releases and a new Super Mario movie expected to support demand.
Lastly, Dowling, recap for us how we closed yesterday and how we are starting the day in the markets today.
So U.S. markets couldn't hold on to the gains from earlier this week, with the Nasdaq falling 1.4%, hurt by weakness in tech and software shares. Back home, the JSE bounced back as gold climbed above $5,000 an ounce. That lifted the Resi 10 by 4% and helped the all share close 1.4% higher. The rand also strengthened, trading at 15.95 to the dollar, 21.85 to the pound, and 18.86 to the euro. Over in commodities, oil trading above $66 a barrel. We are seeing some strength on that front after a U.S. drone strike on Iran and tensions near U.S. ship in the Strait of Hormuz sparked fears of conflict between the nations. And then over in Asia, stocks are mostly lower following Wall Street's losses, with tech shares again under pressure, mirroring what's happening in the Nasdaq.
All right, Ndawleng, thank you for that. We'll talk to you again just after 7:30. That's Ndawleng Lechela there.
Africa Update on SAFM.
And for that, as always, we turn to Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning. Let's start with news out of Libya concerning the Gaddafi family, the sons of Gaddafi. What's the latest we are hearing?
Refresh morning, Thulas, and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. Indeed, Thulas, it is very unclear because we have competing reports now circulating from yesterday. From the family side is that he died from the family space in the garden. There were 4 assailants who attacked him. The other reports that he died near the Libyan-Algeria border. But what is key also to us is that Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, at the age of 53, we know very well, was born in 1972, very close to his late father, Muammar Gaddafi. There was an ICC warrant of arrest that was hanging on him. And at this stage, like I said, to us, it's just condolences coming in, but how he has died is still unclear because of this competing social media reports. But the place that it's been linked is Zintan. That's where he was at his home, as it is alleged by his family to the media. His advisor saying another thing. Hence, I said it will be on the news this week from Tripoli as well as to the continent.
And the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, GERD, is in the news once again, but it's over the issue of who funded it.
Absolutely, but also to dispel the lie and peddling of lies by Donald Trump to last month at Davos, he claimed that they financed the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Now, Abiy Ahmed yesterday was in Parliament. He said we did not receive even a single birr. Birr is an Ethiopian currency. To us, we have not received even a single birr in loans or financial aid from any foreign sources for the construction of the mega dam. It means that it's a strong commitment of Ethiopians living at home and abroad. Since 2011, to us, they've been financing it through taxes and loans. I remember when I was in Addis, they will tell you that even from their bond in paying their houses, they have invested it. Somebody even said to me, Sipho, we have invested spiritually to that land, to that point. And you will recall this land, this dam, has caused tension between Egypt and Sudan. But Trump trying to claim an easy victory here, but the Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed coming very clear that 4 billion, that's what we have spent from Ethiopian birr.
On this story, Sipho, it's a bit confusing, and I want you to walk us through it slowly. I thought that France was changing its path and seeking a new, redefined relationship with particularly its former colonies on the African continent, moving away from France Afrique, that policy. But now we have some reports coming up that suggest otherwise, that talk about some kind of a new neo-colonial age for France.
Absolutely. Tulas, also, we cannot say we verified it clear, but the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service pointing out 3 incidents. And before we get into the one of Madagascar, Tulas, let's look of the 3rd of January last month. The attempted coup in Burkina Faso. Yes, the cameras, the media was on Caracas and US, but there was an issue in Burkina Faso. The Russian dossier alleges that Paris is involved. They went on Mali. There have been attacks on the fuel convoys and also an unrest that was at CAR. They are saying Paris has been plotting behind. Niger, just recently, there was an attack at the Niger airport. They are alleging that France has been sponsoring some of the mercenaries. So back to Madagascar, Tulas, they say since the October removal of Rajolina, France was attempting to overthrow Colonel Michael Randranirana. So these are the allegations that France does not, it has not yet responded to us. And also they have denied supporting some of the Islamist group in the Sahel. So this is a very damning report, but also, to us in this world of dark forces and intelligence, secrecy always play out. And you will find that whether France intelligence is aware of the Russian Foreign Service intelligence report, but only time will tell, to us. But for me, that Russia is exposing Paris to say there's no Franco-Africa relation. It's a neo-colonial coup intention that you are trying to wage in the African continent.
All right. Lastly, Sipho, take us to your historical archive. 4 February 1997. What happened?
To last 2 dates here, but we are keeping on the one of today. 29 years, our constitution came into effect, the 4th February 1997. We are celebrating 30 years because of 1996, when it was approved by the Constitutional Court on the 4th of December 1996. On the 10th of December, former and the late President Nelson Mandela signed it into effect. We had 2 constitutions in the last 40 years to last. 1983, the tricameral constitution, the 1993 interim constitution, and the final one of 1996. A very important document to us that we must always try to look whether is it a living constitution? Does it respond to the socio-economic needs of our people? Is there supremacy of the constitution and the rule of law? For me, that this day is very important, but it's always important to say 31 years later, is the constitution responding to the socio-economic cultural needs of our citizens. Asante sana Thulas, as we are still leading a true conversation and observing the Black History Month and the state of the nation in the winds of the wind.
Sipho, thank you for that. That's Sipho Mandula there with your Africa update for this morning.
The Cherries won victory as a cherry on top of home ground advantage.
It's backwards, still there for Bournemouth, not bundled home yet. No, it is! Bournemouth 3, Liverpool 2. Stoppage time was up.
Meanwhile, the villains believe regular wins will position them in the top 4 bracket.
Oh, what a goal! Emiliano Buendia salutes the Villa fans. Some lovely approach play from Aston Villa, and what a finish from Buendia. Straight into the corner.
This is the Premier League. AFC Bournemouth versus Aston Villa, the Saturday 7 February at 4:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
What's with the camouflage, Dorf? I'm going hunting. Just me, nature, and my most underrated off-roader, a rental car. Hunting? You could fit that little car in your backpack, Dorf. I sit in the driver's seat. Baggage at the back, chairs on the roof. The kudu is going to get in and strap its own seatbelt, Savvy. Could do with more legroom, Dorf. Go hunt for a new 4x4 at WeBuy Cars. They got great deals. Oh, shot, Savvy.
Don't be Dorf, be savvy. We buy cars geared for that big trip, geared for you.
All week long, we are saying yes to a first for Africa. For the first time in its 60-year history, the Montreux Jazz Festival is coming to African soil and it's happening in Franschhoek. Say yes to the first artist reveal on the Archers stage, featuring Salif Keita, Mandi Sityankis, Billy Monamas Guitar Convergence and the Kesavan Ama Big Band Experience. And say yes to the Jazz Village with intimate performances by Madala Gunene, with Sibusile Kaba and Kwanti Le, with Herbie Tswayedi, Andile Yenana, Ayanda Sigate and Sisonke Konti. This is just the beginning. Many more acts to come. Tickets for the Archers are on sale now at ticketmaster.co.za. Montreux Jazz Festival, French Hook, presented by Nedbank. Say yes.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Hope you've got your tickets sorted out, Tulis. That sounds right up your street, doesn't it?
It really does.
It's right up mine as well. We'll go together. Morning, everybody. Heavy traffic on the N1 out of Soweto today on your way through to Randburg. First of all, you've just got that big backlog that comes up from Eldos into Diepkloof. We keep mentioning it. Just really is heavy across all lanes. And then if you're sort of splitting not to Uncle Charlie's, but getting up through Soweto, a crash and a breakdown by 14th Avenue. And that traffic's all the way back to the N17 FNB Stadium exit at Soweto. So that's heavy. Also big traffic again today, Gold Reef City to Empire Road on the Mike 1, the N3 from Alberton's N12 3 lines all the way up into Giluli. A lot of traffic pressure. A lot of people have been hitting the socials, our social media site, Traffic SA on X.com, saying, Rob, it just seems really busy. It just seems a lot of traffic. What's happening? I think, as we were saying earlier in the week, it sort of coincides with that early sort of when the early part of the week falls and coincides around the first payday, or the last of the payday. So I think there's just more people able to fill up their tanks and get on the road. You'll probably find a corresponding drop-off on public transport. In fact, it'd be interesting to hear from you if you use the buses and the trains, what the numbers have been like first part of this week. But traffic-wise, it really is busy. Give yourself plenty of time to get through. Durban, N2 North, M7 up to Westwood Mall's heavy. And then you've got a stationary vehicle just after Inunda Road up by Queen Nundy. So that's your second queue. Kumashu Highway still battling out of Kumashu with a crash at Malindela, holding up towards Durban and towards the N2. And Cape Town, very heavy on the N1 inbound. It's a crash at Old Oak Road in the Belleville area. It's pushed a queue right back almost into Justenburg. Behind that, the R300 struggling to get in with a queue back as far as Stellenbosch Arterial Road. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Time. When you're a kid, it moves slower than a sloth trying to get through airport security. There is just so much of it. Skip forward a few years to your 20s. Time is still your friend. It says have some balance. Go party and have fun. Then your 30s hit. And time suddenly steps on the accelerator like it's trying to catch a traffic light before it goes red. 40s. Now time is moving faster than your 10-year-old on a sugar high. 50. You're desperately trying to save as much as you can, but time is moving so fast. And all you can think is, where did all the time go? That's why after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money, and then money gives you more time for some much-deserved you time. Now, isn't that a compelling enough reason to invest? Ellen Gray, long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
Like a mother's love, Mama Money is always there for the things that matter most. This back-to-school season, when school fees need to be sent home, trust Mama Money to help you support your family with ease. With fees from just 2%, you can send money to over 70 countries across Africa, Asia, and Europe using the Mama Money app. Get started today. Download the app now, register, and make education happen. Mama Money. Mama makes it happen.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
It's coming up to 7 minutes to 7. The country's prisons are bursting at the seams, with overcrowding now at levels the correctional system has never had to manage before. The National Commissioner of Correctional Services, Makgoti Thobagale, says the inmate population surged to more than 170,000 over the festive season, around 60,000 people more than the system has beds for. He's told a media briefing that almost every facility in the country is operating at more than 150% of its capacity, describing a system under immense pressure from infrastructure and staffing to security and budgets. Makgoti Thobagale, National Commissioner of Correctional Services, joins me now to pick up on that conversation. Commissioner, good morning and thank you for your time. In your own words, how dire is the situation around overcrowding? It's a theme we've come back to over the years and have been saying that the system is overcrowded, but there's a sense that we are now in unfamiliar territory with this problem.
Good morning to you and the listeners, Thulasizwe. What worries us is that the numbers continue to grow on a weekly basis. And other variables that you've just mentioned, for instance, our staff complement doesn't grow as much as the numbers grow. The number of facilities in the country does not increase as much as the numbers increase. We have 243 facilities in the country. Only 239 are operational. The others are out of operation because we're trying to repair and maintain them. So what it means is that you've got an aging infrastructure and an increasing number of inmates on a weekly basis without a budget or capacity to repair or maintain that infrastructure.
What is the impact of those variables, the confluence of those variables, an aging infrastructure, an ever-growing inmate population, a stagnant staff population? What does it add up to? What are you seeing happening more and more in these facilities?
Well, firstly, you have a problem of not being able to manage movements in a correctional facility. We are doing this interview. It's in the morning, just before 7 o'clock. There is a heightened level of activity in the remand sections where offenders or inmates are going to court. The South African Police Service is there to collect. They want to make it a point that they get to court on time. A particular correctional facility will be servicing a number of courts, different directions, different distances. You need to make that on time. I thought I must just give you that example. In the afternoon between 4 and 6 o'clock, same thing happens. You need to have the correct ratio in terms of numbers when it comes to a member, a staff member, to an inmate for you to be able to manage this traffic, to manage these movements. You don't have, you are risking escapes, you are risking incidents of assaults between inmates or incidents of assaults, inmates to our own members. You are risking not being able to provide that monitoring that you need to provide to healthcare patients that are inmates that are in your care. Because we also have those that are not supposed to be in our facilities, are supposed to be in health facilities, but the country does not have, or the country is experiencing the same problem that we're experiencing. Lack of beds in healthcare facilities. So you are arrested, you are a mental health care patient. There's nothing we can do except to keep you in our facilities and give you primary health care. You have an increasing number of foreign nationals. This one is even worrying. There are more than 14%, and the number is increasing.
So talk to me about what it's resulting in all of these issues. You had what you call Operation Vala, that was targeting contraband. Are you clearer as to the pathways of contraband into the prison system? How does it make its way? How do we have inmates with cell phones, cash, drugs, and homemade weapons in the system?
We are very clear about the pathways. That's why we even decided that for the first time, we are going to present to the country the outcomes of Operation Valor. In the past, this operation was an operation that was, the outcomes were not explained to South Africans. We went through more than 5,000 searches. We retrieved more than 8,000 cell phones. We retrieved more than 100,000 rands in cash. There are correctional facilities in South Africa where the basics in terms of security do not hold. Where, for instance, there's no feds. So members of the public simply walk in and throw contrabands into a facility.
Yeah.
And then that, where you have, our own members conniving, and the contraband finds itself inside a cell and being used by inmates.
Right, Commissioner. Apologies,
Yes.
Commissioner. I'm completely out of time, but I do need to ask you about the move to take these two inmates, Thabo Bester and Vusumuzi Ket Matlala, to eBongweni in Kokstad. What motivated that move, and do South Africans have any reason to be concerned about that? Because in the one instance, you're dealing with a convicted inmate who is still standing trial for other matters, and in the other instance, you're dealing with someone who is an awaiting trial detainee.
South Africa has only one facility that is of the highest level of security or standards in terms of security, and that is eBongweni. You have an inmate profile that is changing. It's continuing to change. The likes of Thabo Bester, the likes of Vusumuzi Ket Matlala. We need to ensure that when we do our security analysis, threat and risk analysis, and it points to the need to pay close attention to the safety and security of this type of inmates, other inmates, our own members, and South Africans, we need to act. Because you don't want a situation where what I mentioned earlier, escapes, assaults, even death happens in your hands as a correctional services officer.
Was there a
That is
threat
what-
of that? Was there a threat of that happening with these two inmates?
The security analysis showed that we cannot continue to have these inmates incarcerated at Kgoshi-Mampuru, which is a second tier in terms of a facility of, in terms of safety and security. We had to go to the highest, and the only highest, unfortunately, is eBongweni.
All right. Commissioner, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. That's Makhoti Tobagale, National Commissioner of Correctional Services. And good morning to you. I'm so sorry I'm late.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Good morning. Apology accepted. In our top stories, US renews AGOA for another year, and John Steenhuisen expected to address the media in Durban. US authorities have reauthorized the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, following its expiration last year, September, to the 31st of December this year. The program has now passed both the House of Representatives and the Senate. In a vote on Friday, the Senate whittled down to 12 months a 3-year extension that the House had passed earlier. This after the Trump administration expressed support for a limited extension. Showan Bryce Peace reports.
The one-year extension leaves less than 11 months of the free trade agreement in place that is currently still undercut by President Donald Trump's reciprocal tariffs imposed on African countries, including South Africa. The U.S. Supreme Court is weighing the legality of those tariffs after two lower courts ruled that Trump overstepped his authority by imposing the trade levies. The administration earlier signaled it was in favor of a one-year extension of AGOA, while lawmakers have stressed that the president retained the power to include or exclude countries from the program. South Africa's inclusion is likely to hinge on a decision from the White House after at least one Republican senator already argued for the country's exclusion.
DA leader John Steenhuisen is today expected to address the media in Durban, where he started his political career 30 years ago. SABC News has reliably learnt that he will not stand for re-election at the party's forthcoming Federal Congress. DA Federal Chairperson Helen Zille has rejected suggestions that there's tension in the party. Political analyst Dr. Piet Kroukamp says Steenhuisen must be replaced because some party members appear to have lost confidence in him.
It might even be that he's lost the confidence of Helen Zille. Lots of stats shows that there's around about 3 million black South Africans quite prepared to vote for them, but they don't do so. The question is why not? And I think there's something ideologically alienating in the party. But I think somebody like Jordan Lewis of the Western Cape has proven himself to be a good manager.
In other news, Northern Cape Police have raised the alarm about an increase in incidents of rape, attempted murder and assault being reported across all 5 provincial districts in the past few weeks. They've urged the public to remain vigilant. Provincial Police spokesperson Marapelo Pilane.
Remain alert and ensure that you have access to emergency contact numbers. Trust your instincts and act promptly when sensing danger. Members of the public are further encouraged to report any suspicious activity or incidents of abuse to break the silence on gender-based violence. Working together with communities remain critical in the fight against crime.
Some students at the Cape Peninsula University of Technology say they are being forced to seek alternatives as they cannot find accommodation on campus. Dozens of hopeful applicants are arriving on campus to seek accommodation. First-year lectures are expected to start next week. Returning student Sinovuyo Mahlokomane says they are uncertain about what to do.
So what is currently happening here in CPUT is that we have students that are sleeping outside because they are without accommodation, and that is because they were accepted here in CPUT, and then again their statuses are still on pending. Some are still they are declined due to first choice. That thing it is a situation that is supposed to be fixed by them, but then the students find themselves in that dilemma, and it is not being fixed. And we find those students being vulnerable to dangers of this city, because you have to understand that this city is a very dangerous city for a person that is still new here.
And finally, Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, the second son of Libya's late former leader Muammar Gaddafi, has reportedly been shot dead. He was on the wanted list of the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity for his alleged role in opposition protests in 2011. The BBC's Frank Gardner reflects on Saif al-Islam's life.
He was at one time thought to be the likely successor to Colonel Muammar Gaddafi and quite well known abroad. He was quite a familiar figure on the lecture circuit. His luck ran out during the Arab uprising of 2011, where his father was killed and he was captured. And he was imprisoned for 6 years. 4 gunmen who cut off the CCTV. He came out to investigate, ambushed him outside his home.
Recapping the top story, U.S. authorities have reauthorized the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, following its expiration last year, September, to the 31st of December this year. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
You could show your bank balance some love this month with awesome car insurance savings from Outsurance. Like 43-year-old Gloria, who saves an unbelievable 513 Rand on her 2024 Audi Q3. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines. It is soccer. The Orlando Pirates coach, Abdusalam Wadu, is convinced Unity can lift his team out of a 14-year league title drought. And we also bring you news from the Lions camp as they look to reset during the URC break. All the details just before 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Heavy passing Soweto on your way to Randburg. A crash and a breakdown all unfolding on the M1 North by 14th Avenue. And that's a backlog down to FNB exit north at Soweto. Before you even get there, very heavy this morning. N12 Potch Highway, Deadman's Bend, N1 North through Deepcliff on your way to Uncle Charlie's. Dead slow. It's a high volume Wednesday, so that route's guaranteed to be busy. Pretoria, the usual hotspots coming through Vanderboom. Some traffic lights out on both Steve Biko and Mansfield Avenue. So through that Vanderboom Port area or the pass, it's very heavy. Durban, a breakdown. N2 running northbound by Queen Nandi Drive. Traffic a bit slow there. Crash blocking the M7 after the Belleville Road Bridge. If you're leaving Pinetown on your way to the Bluff, that's quite slow. Malindela Road at the Kumashu Highway, there's a crash. It's on the Kumashu Highway at Malindela, so leaving Kumashu, it's heavy. M13 Hillcrest down to Maytime, looking quite slow on your way to Kloof. And Cape Town, a crash earlier this morning on the M1 inbound at Old Oak Road at Belleville. That's pushing a queue all the way back to the Eustenburg farmland area. That's heavy. Behind that, the R300 queuing from Stellenbosch Arterial, just trying to get into that N1 inbound queue. But again, Cape Town, generally busy all over. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
10 minutes after 7. Welcome to the second hour of the Morning Brief on SAFM 104 to 107. I want to keep my introduction short in this hour, and the reason for that is that I have a bit of actuality that I want to play back to you, some sound that I want to play back for you, because it's quite important to set the scene for our conversation with Kenny Mapanga, SABC News reporter, who's been tracking the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. And immediately after we speak to Kenny, focusing on that Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, we'll then turn to issues to do with the DA and the imminent announcement by John Steenhuisen. Your calls 086 000 2032, your WhatsApp voice notes 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The second hour of the Morning Brief on this Wednesday.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Abafana Bestende want this to be a happy weekend for their fans. But Mswenko boys want to brag with a win on their way back to Northwest Province. This is the Nedbank Cup Last 32. More than a number. Catch Golden Arrows versus Orbit College this Saturday, 7 February at 5:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 6 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
You are listening to The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
So at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, a senior police officer has been forced to explain why alleged gun deal WhatsApp messages on his phone appeared to come from the late former Deputy President David Mabuza. Testifying from an undisclosed location, the officer, known as Witness F, admitted that the messages exist, including images, videos, and offers involving hundreds of firearms, but insists that they were not sent by Mabuza himself. Take a listen to this clip before we turn to Kenny Mapanga for an update.
On the 15th of November 2024, at 11:33, the late Deputy President forwards you an image of a weapon. He followed that up with what appear to be videos demonstrating the use of this weapon. Both sent to you at 11:37 on the same day, like a second later after the image. Can we show those videos?
And do you also confirm that you received it from the late Deputy President Didi Mabuza?
I don't confirm that, Commissioner. It was his nephew.
But he's listed in your phone as Comrade Didi Mabuza, Deputy President.
I confirm that, Commissioners.
And you're saying that his nephew used the Deputy President's phone to send you those images?
I confirm.
So the late Deputy President's nephew had access to his phone to send you messages of this nature. Is that your evidence?
It is not my evidence. My evidence is they were planning to bring these guns from somewhere to South Africa. They wanted to bring it on the market. Actually, when you open there at page 702, you will see the prices there, as was showing me on how do they range from how much to how much. If they can buy them in bulk and sell them to gun shop in South Africa.
Yeah, so there was Witness F testifying yesterday. Let's turn to Kenny Mapanga, SABC News reporter, tracking that story. Kenny, I must say, that was a bit of a bolt out of the blue. My expectation of Witness F's testimony was that it was just going to continue along the vein of showing alleged collaboration between police officers and cartel and syndicate members. This political angle was a bolt out of the blue for me.
Indeed. Good morning to you, Thulas, and to the listeners. I think it became obvious that there was something bigger to the WhatsApp exchanges when we saw the length to which the legal team of WhatsApp tried to stop the commission from displaying those WhatsApp messages. I mean, they tried to move for postponement, and they also filed papers in the High Court seeking an interdict that would not only, stop his appearance pending the finalization of the matter, but they also sought an interim interdict against the display of those WhatsApp exchanges. So it showed you the magnitude of what was going to be revealed there in light of the fear that Witness F expressed before the commission, that he fears incriminating himself through those WhatsApp exchanges once he is, questioned on them. And once you see the WhatsApp exchanges, the key pattern that comes out is that you're seeing Witness F as an alleged middleman in several interactions or exchanges or transactions that are taking place through high-ranking officials and these alleged criminal syndicates. The key message here is that of the close-quarter combat arms deal that we're seeing taking place in the WhatsApp exchanges. Now, he gets a message from an individual that he saved in his phone as Comrade Didi Mabuza, Deputy President. Now, he denies that it is the late former Deputy President of South Africa, but rather attributes the messages to his nephew, who he tells the commission is Spiwe Mabuza. So this person sends him a firearm, and they start discussing this particular firearm, which gives you the inclination that there was an alleged market for these discussions. But he tries to paint the picture that he was the interested buyer and that this is just a hobby that he likes to partake in. But the patterns in his messaging give you a different picture, because once that message is sent and they decide on, I guess, the units or the number of units that they want, a meeting is quickly established and a screenshot is then sent to him about the meeting that's going to be established. He then forwards messages to a Stephen Mutsomi, and he forwards messages to Lieutenant General Shadrik Sibia. And in all the patterns in the WhatsApp exchanges, you see that he is only carrying a message forward. He isn't really the main person doing the alleged negotiations and whatever alleged transaction is taking place through the WhatsApp messages. However, he seems to suggest that it was merely a hobby that he was interested in. But I think the pattern of the questioning and the foundation that is being laid by Advocate Matthew Charleston SC is that this person, that is Witness F, is an alleged middleman for the now suspended Deputy National Commissioner, Lieutenant General Shadrik Sibia, because every action that he takes, he reports back to certain individuals. He's always the common denominator in these alleged transactions. And I think when Charles Kisson continues, because remember, we're far behind with Witness F's schedule. He was supposed to start on Friday, and he only started yesterday. When Witness F continues with his testimony, the pattern that is going to emerge from these WhatsApp exchanges is that this individual was allegedly carrying out these functions on behalf of, allegedly, the suspended Deputy National Commissioner, Lieutenant General Sibia.
Yeah, say a bit more, because when we were not discussing the late cat, Didi Mabuza, the cat now in Cat Matlala, we were discussing impalas, as well as just those interactions that and the leaking of SAPS information to individuals that would have an interest in some of these cases, including a murder case.
Indeed, that's another instance of where you see that Witness F is a common denominator, but the alleged benefit or the discussion taking place is actually not for him. It's for someone else. With the impalas, you see that Vusimuzi Cat Matlala sends him this voice note from a farm manager saying that the impalas are ready. He just needs a pin, a location to drop it off. He sends that message to Witness F. Witness F gives him an address after, I think, forwarding that to Sibia. And the address, when you put it on Google Maps, shows you a house which is that believed to be that of Lieutenant General Shadrik Sibia, because when there was a raid that was widely reported on, the two pictures, that of Google Maps and the raid images of Lieutenant General Shadrik Sibia's house, match completely. So essentially what you're seeing is that Cat Matlala had allegedly purchased those impalas for Lieutenant General Shadrik Sibia, which runs concurrent with the evidence of Brown Mokgotsi, or at least what was revealed in Brown Mokgotsi's messages, that in fact there was a purchase of impalas for allegedly for Lieutenant General Shadrik Sibia's farm plot, and that I guess those impalas didn't make it, but the key message that is being portrayed through those WhatsApp exchanges is that indeed there was an alleged sale. But the common pattern you're seeing is that Witness F is the intermediary, if I could put it that way, because the common pattern that you will see in these kinds of interactions where there is this kind of alleged wrongdoing is that the person who is supposed to receive that alleged benefit is never actually part of the intimate discussions. But the patterns in which they seek to run away from by having an alleged middleman becomes obvious when there's a common denominator in all of those transactions. So that is what you can expect from Witness F's testimony going forward.
All right, Kenny, thank you for that. That's Kenny Mapanga, SABC News reporter, watching the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry, which continues today.
Batao Batamane plan to enter the battlefield with Limpopo heat. Meanwhile, as a Minyamangenkani, party, Yonkindao, Iparapara, Yaphumelela. This is the Nedbank Cup Last 32. More than a number. Catch Chakuma Chamatibandera FC versus Orlando Pirates this Saturday, 7 February at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Eskom is upgrading old electricity meters with modern smart meters, giving you clarity, control and confidence. With your new meter, you'll be able to see your usage in real time, giving you the power to manage your electricity with ease. Smart meters are accurate and help Eskom respond faster to issues. Please allow their authorized installers access to install your new meter. For more information, visit the Eskom website. Eskom, redefining for a better future.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
23 minutes after 7, the Democratic Alliance appears to be heading for a major leadership shake-up, with John Steenhuisen widely expected to announce that he will not seek re-election as party leader. Initial reporting by Business Day, Daily Maverick, SABC News and other outlets really, citing multiple senior DA sources, says Steenhuisen is set to make that announcement today, potentially ending months of internal speculation and maneuvering. Behind the scenes, party insiders point to mounting leadership tensions, donor unease, and growing criticism over his handling of personal finances, as well as some growing criticism in some quarters around that portfolio of agriculture which he leads as minister. Steenhuisen himself has confirmed that he will address the country on what the party calls matters of national importance, but has publicly cautioned against speculation ahead of that statement. Let's speak to Professor Jolene Steyn-Kotze, who is Chief Research Specialist in the Developmental, Capable and Ethical State Research Division of the Human Sciences Research Council. Prof, good morning. Thank you for your time this morning. It's been a while. How did we end up here? John Steenhuisen coming in with quite a lot of promise off the back of, by DA standards, poor showing in the 2019 national elections, and staying the course over the last while. But here we are talking about a potential exit for this leader. How did we get here?
You know, it's always quite interesting, I think, that once we see political parties head towards their elective conferences, most notably when we do have an election year. As we know, South Africans will head to the polls for the local government elections a little bit later in 2026. It really starts raising the questions around, number one, party identity and the image one wants to portray to the electorate. And I think key to the political dynamics that has shaped the leadership controversy within the DA has been some of the challenges around managing the Ministry of Agriculture. We have heard some huge concerns around foot and mouth disease, for example, and the management of the department with that. And then, as well as you had mentioned earlier, questions around personal finances, as well as some leadership tensions within the political party.
So, talk to me about our understanding of the influence of donors within the DA, because donors and I suppose certain constituencies, call them lobby groups, if you will, because that conversation featured when we were talking about the replacement of Dion George in that, environment ministry. And it seems to feature even now that the more the controversies around the federal leader, the more certain sections, you mentioned it in the context of the agriculture sector, that some sectoral interests are perhaps not as happy with the DA and John Steenhuisen's management of that portfolio. So donors, lobby groups, constituencies are quite important in this party.
No, most definitely. And I think it's not just something that is uniquely DA. I mean, if we cast our eye globally, we know that and I'm going to call it the relationship between politics and money, and politics and money and the influence that money can buy you within setting government policy has been very, very well documented. We have seen it, for example, in the US. As well. So when we start looking at the donor relationship and we start looking at political parties and the trajectory of where they want to go, it becomes almost a very pragmatic, I would say, sort of transaction, if you will. in that you do find donors may come and say, we will support your political party cause, but of course there's got to be some return on investment, so to speak. And it is also for that reason that when you start talking politics and money, the idea of transparency, so that South Africans or anybody in the world knows who is donating to whom and for what purpose.
And in this particular context, I suppose I also ask the question, Prof, in a context in which when Dion George made those allegations of the abuse of the federal credit card, which he then withdrew, part of what he was, part of his framing was to say this is money from our donors who are showing us support that is being mishandled. But I'm just surprised that it seemed as if John Steenhuisen had the backing of the significant leadership of the DA, in that the rhetoric in the wake of Dion George's claims was to say, well, he's making those claims because he's on his way out. Where's the proof for all of that? We stand with Steenhuisen. Are you not surprised that barely a couple of weeks after that, we're now seeing a situation where potentially John Steenhuisen will be announcing that he will not seek re-election?
You know, it's always, I think, interesting that when we look at South African politics and South African political dynamics, and we have discussions around factions, it's almost like we are caught in, ANC factions, and we kind of frame our worldview, if you will, around factionalism as only being within certain political parties. But the fact of the matter remains, all political parties do have factional dynamics. And of course, as we know, once you have factional dynamics, certain leadership positions may be intimately tied to particular individuals. So you could very well find that individuals may align themselves with a political leader purely because their own political futures and their own political careers might be linked or tied to that individual, needing time to extract themselves from that relationship to try and create an independent leadership portfolio, if you will.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. That's Professor Jolene Steyn-Kotze, Chief Research Specialist in the Developmental, Capable and Ethical State Research Division of the Human Sciences Research Council. Let's go straight to Ann Musa on standby with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, retired KwaZulu-Natal Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Moipo Ninoko, is expected to testify before the Nkabinde inquiry when it resumes its hearings in Pretoria today. She'll be the second witness to testify before the inquiry, which retired Justice Pesi Nkabinde chairs. U.S. authorities have reauthorized the African Growth and Opportunity Act following its expiration last year, September, to the 31st of December this year. The program has now passed both the House of Representatives and the Senate. And London police have launched a criminal investigation into Peter Mandelson, the former minister and former British ambassador to Washington. This is in the wake of new revelations about his ties to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Still very heavy out of Soweto this morning on the N1 towards Randburg. It's a crash and a breakdown by 14th Avenue. Both are still there, and it's a heavy queue all the way back through to sort of FNB Stadium exits on the N1. That's how bad it is. Traffic lights just off the highway. Hendrik Portgate to 14th Avenue still down as well. So you're battling to sort of get onto the highway, and then as you come onto the highway, that crash just north of the on-ramp. So it's a real mission out that way. Jan Smuts Drive at Burnside down at Craighall. Lights out if you're leaving Randburg on your way towards Hyde Park. There's some extra pressure there. Not the first day those lights are out, but very noticeable delays. N1 South Rivonia down to Winnie Mandela is quite a heavy queue as well. And Olifantsfontein Road coming out of Blue Hills really badly backed up. I think traffic light problems at the N1 are still a problem, but that Olifantsfontein towards the highway a lot worse than you'd normally expect to find. Traffic lights down Pretoria East on Solomon Mslangu and Delphi. Those lights always guaranteed to pop a queue any time of the day when they're down, actually. Now, Durban, Bluff bound coming out of Pine Town. Lengthy queues on the M7. That's a big crash down by the Belleville Road exit and a long queue back through Queensborough, back to sort of North Dean and North Park territory. A breakdown on the N2 North between Inanda Road and Queen Nandi Drive means that's a joined up queue this morning. N2 from the M7 through the roadworks at Westwood Mall on your way towards Queen Nandi. And Cape Town very heavy on the N1 into town this morning through Brackenfell after an earlier crash near Old Oak Road, which is being cleared. But coming from Eustonburg into Brackenfell, dreadful. R300 again, a heavy one from Delft up towards that N1 inbound. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, do you think it's possible that Adeslam Wadu is playing Jahim in his car? Ne? UNITY is what we need to get RESPECT.
Wow.
Do you think that's what's happening?
That was powerful.
Unity.
I mean, you know,
Yeah.
they just need the silverware now to add to the unity.
To get the RESPECT. Yeah.
There we go. Well, 14 years later, that's what unity sounds like to us. But let's check the log. Yes, Pirates are on top for now, and they are relishing their position. And the head coach believing that UNITY can help them sustain their good run.
A top moment for us. We are excited to keep working hard, exciting to keep living well together, to have a fantastic team spirit. The unity, the solidarity will help us to keep that position. Even I can tell you tonight that it will not be easy because we have good teams, especially when it's the first time I played Amazulu. It's one of the best teams in terms of organization, in terms of the quality of the players, quality of the coach as well. So Amazulu and a lot of teams in this PSL will try to get this position. For us, it's just not to be stressful, not to be have pressure at all. It's just to play our football, to keep that organization, that unity, that strong spirit, and we play game after game, and we'll see what happens at the end of the season.
That's Orlando Pirates head coach Abdussalam Wadu on the morning brief. Now, Kaizer Chiefs start the defense of their Nedbank Cup title tonight away to Stellenbosch. And their co-coach Cedric Kaze says the growing rivalry in cup competitions shows a growth in the local game.
I would say that it's true that these past seasons there has been very good challenges between the two teams that with very great football performances on the field and very games that have resulted in a very good rivalry, and that's I believe that's what you say that the South African football is growing because you can find other teams that can challenge the teams that are supposed to be big. And the more you have the teams that challenge each other, the more the league grows and the football in general in South Africa grows.
That's the Kaizer Chiefs co-coach Cedric Kaze on the morning brief. Let's go to this story from last night's action. Arsenal are back in a major final for the first time in nearly 6 years, edging Chelsea 4-2 on aggregate in the Carabao Cup semi-finals. From the soccer stadiums, we head to the other news, and that is, tennis. Third seed Clara Tauson cruising into the quarterfinals of the WTA 500 Abu Dhabi Open with a straight sets win over Simona Waltert 6-3, 6-1 in just over an hour. That's your sport. Check back. We'll be serving it up at the top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
And for that, we turn to Ndawling Lechela once again. Ndawling, not really the news we want to be reporting this morning. The potential of yet more job losses.
Yeah. Nearly 400 jobs are on the line at packaging manufacturer Impact Tulas after the company issued retrenchment notices in its carton board business, citing cheaper imports and a stronger rand. Now, Impact says it will discontinue operations at its Springs mill in March. The plant employs around 377 people and is South Africa's only producer of carton board. The company says global overcapacity has pushed import prices to around 20% below its cost of production, making local manufacturing unviable. Pressure intensified after the mill's largest customer opted to switch entirely to imported supply. Now, Impact says it cannot close the cost gap despite extensive efforts and will instead rely on imports. Now, the move adds to growing strain in South Africa's manufacturing sector. Just last month, British American Tobacco announced the closure of its only local factory, while steelmaker AMSA shut down its long steel plants and has repeatedly warned that weak demand, high costs, and imports threaten the future of domestic steel production. Together, the developments highlight the rising risks in industrial capacity in that sector.
And cybersecurity is one of those in-demand services and commodities in the current market. Tell me about Data Tech snapping up a U.S. cybersecurity firm.
Data Tech wants a piece of the pie. Tulas, the IT firm, doubling down on cybersecurity and announcing its second acquisition in a week. Its U.S. subsidiary has taken full control of Maple Woods Enterprises, a long-term security partner whose Overwatch platform was originally built for the U.S. defense sector. Now, the move adds advanced cybersecurity and compliance expertise to Thulasizwe's managed services, helping the group expand into key U.S. markets. This follows last week's acquisition of Slovenia-based Real Security, giving DataTech a strategic foothold across the region and access to a fast-growing European cybersecurity market. The company's CEO, Jens Montanana, says both deals reflect DataTech's focus on specialist value-added distribution capabilities that allow vendors and partners to scale. Now, cybersecurity remains a priority as the group seeks to strengthen its managed security offerings globally, tapping into the rising demand for advanced protection and compliance solutions across the US and Europe.
Lastly, Dowling, the markets, how are they looking at this hour?
Kicking things off in Asia, markets in the red. This has Wall Street's fears around AI-driven disruption affecting software companies made their way into the region. The Japanese Nikkei leading those losses down almost 1%. Traders choppy over in the US. Some optimism in the air, though, as lawmakers passed a funding package that brings an end to a partial government shutdown that started over the weekend. Back home, trade was mostly in the green as precious metal prices bounced back, leading to the JSE All-Share closing 1.4% higher overnight. That also spilled over into currencies, with the rand on firmer footing this hour at 15.96 to the dollar, 21.84 to the British pound, and 18.84 to the euro. Lastly, in oil, geopolitical tensions in the Middle East are stirring again, sending crude up 0.7% to around $67 a barrel as investors fear potential market disruptions.
All right, Ndauling, thank you for that. We'll touch base with you once again just after 8:30.
Get Barter school shoes at Spar for 75 Rand when you spend 350 Rand or more and swipe your rewards card. Buy 850-gram Parmalat pre-packed cheese for 124.99 plus 300 megs free data on Spar Mobile, or 400-gram Parmalat or Melrose cheese slices for 59.99 plus 150 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Price is valid from 20 Jan till 8 Feb while stocks last. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
It is time for incredible action on the tennis court. Mzansi Africa clashes with Montenegro. Emotions are pumped up by passion and thirst for victory. This is the Davis Cup World Group 2 playoff tie. Witness the World Cup of Tennis. Renault South Africa Davis Cup team versus Montenegro on Saturday 7 February at 11 a.m. Then on Sunday 8 February at 10 a.m. Live on SABC Plus, SABC 3 and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Don't blow your paycheck on high car insurance premiums when you could be saving with Outsurance. So how much does 35-year-old Zanai save?
A whopping 1,180 Rand.
That's an incredible 1,180 Rand monthly saving on Zanai's 2017 Mercedes-Benz GLA. Get a quote now and see how much Outsurance could save you. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
With Outsurance, I'm saving a whole 729 Rand.
729 Rand is a sweet saving on 32-year-old Parushka's 2020 Haval H2. And after 3 claim-free years, you get an out bonus.
Yes, I'm ready for that out bonus.
You also get benefits like 24/7 roadside assistance and loads more. Get a quote now and see how much money Outsurance could save you. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online. Limits apply.
All week long, we are saying yes to a first for Africa. For the first time in its 60-year history, the Montreux Jazz Festival is coming to African soil, and it's happening in Franschhoek. Say yes to the first artist reveal on the Archers stage, featuring Salif Keita, Mandisi Tyankis, Billy Monama's Guitar Convergence, and the Casavan Ama Big Band experience. And say yes to the Jazz Village with intimate performances by Madala Gunene with Sibusile Klaba and Kwanti Le, with Herbie Tswayedi, Andile Yenana, Ayanda Sigate, and Sisonke Konti. This is just the beginning. Many more acts to come. Tickets for the Archers are on sale now at ticketmaster.co.za. Montreux Jazz Festival, Franschhoek, presented by Nedbank. Say yes.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
So let's return to that story around the Democratic Alliance and its leader, John Steenhuisen. Steenhuisen urging the public to avoid speculation ahead of a major announcement that he is set to make in Durban in a couple of hours' time, saying only that he will outline the quote-unquote full set of facts when he speaks, despite his attempts to play down reports mounting indications suggest his future as DA leader is under intense scrutiny ahead of the party's federal congress in April. Let's speak to someone who knows what it's like to hold that position of DA federal leader and the pressures that come with it, as well as the expectations that come with it. Tony Leon, former federal leader of the DA. Ambassador Leon, good morning and thank you for your time. Just your own sense of expectation. What do you expect? John Steenhuisen is cautioning against speculation, but it seems the cat is out of the bag. Many news media outlets reporting that it will be an announcement that he is not seeking re-election.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for having me. I do think that the announcement will be along the lines indicated. There seems to be a lot of informed leaking coming out of party offices that this is going to happen. And I suspect, and I don't know with definitive certainty, obviously we'll know in a short while, that what John Steenhuisen will do will be to announce he's not standing for re-election as leader of the party and open the process for others to stand and become the next leader of the party. I think that every leader, and I speak from personal experience, must perfect the art of knowing when to go, not because you're necessarily being pushed or pressured, but I think every leader of any party, particularly the DA, knows that certain things can be achieved. And once the leader stands down, and here I include myself in the category, because it happened in my case when I stood down and Helen Zille was elected as my successor, the next leader generally, just because of the refresh and the replacement of the leader, improves the party standing in the next election. And the short-term goal, obviously for the Democratic Alliance and for many residents of many cities and towns, is to do as well as possible in the next municipal elections. And a refreshed leadership just on the scoreboard since the DA was founded in 2000, that's 25 years ago, suggests that the new leader generally outperforms the previous leader, because people, I think, have an appreciation that a party that changes leaders, if it's done in a way that avoids a civil war, is a party that is capable of repositioning itself.
Yeah, so there's that element of the refresh and the boon that it has on the party's performance and perceptions, the coming in and the new energy of a new leader. But
correct.
Are you convinced that there were no other dynamics at play? I mean, some of the allegations being made are certainly unfamiliar territory for the DA, at least in the recent past. Allegations around the abuse of a federal credit card. I don't imagine that, despite what was being said in public, that the pressure was not on inside the DA for him to account fully.
Yeah, I happily don't involve myself in the inner machinations or management of the party. I led for all those years ago, I should add. So I simply don't know, except what I've read and been told. I'm sure there were many factors. Look, I mean, anyone who occupies the party leadership of the DA or any party is up for an enormous amount of pressure and arguably abuse. But, nobody forced them to become the leader. I always said that to people in politics. I said, they're sort of complaining. I said, well, nobody forced you to come here, as the late politician Harry Schwartz once said to me. So it goes with the territory. I think it intensifies, incidentally, without going into the details of this particular saga, in the run-up to a Congress, because then people are positioning themselves and there's a lot of maneuvering. And it obviously, the volume was ratcheted up enormously because of the very public and controversial resignation of Dion George from the party after being fired as a minister. So, of course, there were other dynamics, as you suggest in your question. And I'm in no position to assess what finally did the deal to, if indeed John announced he's standing down. But may I just say this, that obviously we are preoccupied, because it's very interesting when we look at an event like this, with the personalities involved. But I think it's just significant to note that leadership issues are not just about personalities, they're important, but also about positioning. And the one achievement John Steenhuisen has is he led the party for the first time in its history into the government. But that repositioning of the party has opened a lot of questions of how firm and effective the party's been in advancing its principles, its values, its policies inside the government and outside. And I guess whoever stands for the leadership of the party in April needs to answer the question about the positioning of the party, not just about whether his or her personality is going to deliver a win for it.
In fact, you preempt my final question to you. It has to do exactly with that, the DA in government. Going into the government, the coalition government known as the Government of National Unity, the debate was always whether the DA can assert itself and infuse its influence in that government, or was it going to be co-opted and become ineffective within that government, and that both sides of the argument continue to prevail side by side at the moment. What's your gauge of the DA in this iteration of a government? Has it had the effect of diluting from its influence and the brand of DA opposition politics, quote-unquote government in waiting style, or has it been effective in infusing some of its influence within the government?
Well, I must put my hand up here and say that I was, because I happened to be in the negotiating team in 2024 for the DA, I was very much in favor of the DA entering the government as a partner, not just from the outside offering support on a vote-by-vote basis. So I said, go all in, because then you can have real access and you can have real influence. But of course, that was before the party entered. And I think correctly, because the DA hopefully is still an organization with a vibrant internal democracy, the party must take stock and say, can we be more effective? can we get a harder edge and still retain our position in government? Can you be both and not either or? If you put the question in a different phrasing, and I think that correctly should be interrogated by the party rank and file at the Congress, not because of the personality of the leader. And look, one byproduct, if there's a leadership change, and this is something that the Freedom Front Plus did a few months ago, is it's entirely possible that the next leader of the party, if there's a new leader, will be someone who's elected but who doesn't actually go into the cabinet. Now, that would give the party, in a sense, a more flexibility in dealing with what has been a somewhat troublesome partner, the ANC, which, although it only has 40% of the parliamentary votes, behaves as though it has 70% of the parliamentary votes. And I think a repositioning is necessary, and that's why actually a leadership change in April can effectively signal that a repositioning is happening across the board, not just internally, but also in how the DA deals with its externalities, such as the GNU.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. Tony Leon, former leader of the Democratic Alliance.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Just a reminder to avoid Middelburg down in the Eastern Cape area today. It is a shutdown event. Middelburg, we're seeing burning tyres on some local routes, seeing some smoke wallowing from the distance, and a lot of congestion on the N9 and N10 routes as a result of some blockages along there. So any travel through Middelburg, at least this morning, should be postponed, and maybe try it this afternoon. We're getting a lot of content about Middelburg, major blockages. Also, just south of Cradock, staying with the N10, there's a truck crash about to be recovered. It's a truck on its side, about 40 k's south of Cradock, so Cradock Cookhouse section. It's likely to be obstructed for a while until the tow trucks get that big load off the road and can get it reopened again. Joburg, the N1 North, super heavy this morning from Soweto all the way up to 14th Avenue. Crash just after 14th Avenue, causing that delay. It's also having a big impact. Hendrik Potgieter, 14th Avenue, down towards the bridge in the on-ramp. Main road from Kyalami down through Bryanston, through a couple of sets of lights are down. William Mandela at Lone Hill Boulevard, lights out there. That's chaotic. Cedar Road in from Danefern, pretty bad, as well as your route into the Four Ways area. And there's a big backlog on the N14, the Krugersdorp Highway this morning. Pretoria bound up to Bruckfontein interchange, real heavy back as far as the R55. Pretoria West exit. Durban, a crash on the M7 going towards the Bluff area, just down by the Belleville Road exit at Queensborough. Very heavy queues there. M19 is under a lot of pressure as well, coming through into Springfield Park. So from Dunkeld, Reservoir Hills, M19 through the N2, Durban bound, really unusually backed up through there. And Cape Town, just a high volume Wednesday, the N1 inbound from Kraaifontein all the way through to the city centre, and the N7 fairly dreadful both ways to Bosmansdam Road. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Welcome to it. This is season 1 of Playlist happening right here at Maloka, and believe me, it's a party.
Set your reminder, every Friday, 9 p.m. Playlist at Maloka is in the building.
When choosing a medical aid, pay close attention to the benefits. Like the benefit of skipping phone calls and pharmacy queues with the convenience of the Discovery Health app. The benefit of one app that makes finding the right doctor, booking an appointment, submitting a script, having medicine delivered, and your claim paid simply effortless. Just another benefit that makes Discovery Health Medical Scheme for your health like no other. Speak to your financial advisor or visit discovery.co.za to get a quote. Discovery Health Medical Scheme is a registered medical scheme. The Discovery Health app is brought to members by Discovery Health.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
4 minutes to 8. As parts of the country brace for a severe heat wave, health experts are urging people to look beyond the usual warnings about dehydration and heat exhaustion and pay closer attention to their skin. While the effects of extreme heat on the body are well known, the skin is often neglected, despite being the body's first line of defense and highly vulnerable to sun damage, dehydration, and long-term disease. Let's speak to Dr. Maureen Alam, medical doctor and aesthetic expert, who joins us now. Good morning to you, Doc, and thank you for your time. Usually we associate issues with skin damage and those kind of problems with the winter season, but there are certain issues that stem from heat exposure and UV and the like. Talk to us a bit more about conditions that apply under conditions such as heat waves.
Good morning, everybody. Yes, during the holiday period, we've had a wonderful holiday. We've had much more outdoor exposure, but so we have compromised our skin barriers and our skin barrier, which is a protective barrier that protects us from UV radiation and from pollution. And once this barrier has been impaired, you'll find that many other skin conditions start developing. And then we have a summer heat wave, which creates a perfect storm for skin stress. So during the holiday, because we're spending more time outdoors, our skin is hit by intense UV exposure. And we know that in South Africa, we have the second highest UV index in the world. So the UV index is very high. We've been exposed by heat. We've been exposed by humidity and changes in water. We've been swimming in the oceans. We've been swimming in the swimming pools where there's a lot of chlorine. And some people have had air travel. And all of this has disrupted our skin. And also, we've also had disrupted skincare routines. We have a late night. We go to bed without washing the makeup off the face. And this all adds to impairing your skin's barrier. So any other questions that you have?
Yeah. Sorry, Doc. I was going to ask then, how do we respond to it? How do we ameliorate for all of that exposure and the effects that you just described?
So knowing your skin type is very important during this extreme heat, heat like the heat wave coming up. So if you have oily skin, very often people with oily skin will skip a lightweight moisturizer. And that is not a good habit, because what the skin does is compensate by producing more oil, and then you'll find you'll get breakouts more often. So keep using a moisturizer, but using a water-based or light moisturizer. And then on the flip side, dry skin loses moisture faster outdoors than indoors with air conditioning, So outdoors, the moisture is stripped from the heat, because what happens when you get hot, your body increases blood flow to the skin to release the heat, and then that also produces salt, sweat, which is salt, which aggravates the skin barrier. And then you lose water, you become dehydrated that way. And then when you're indoors, the air conditioner strips away the little moisture that we have left. So that's why it's very important, especially with these heat waves coming up, to drink at least 2 to 3 liters of water a day to replenish the water loss that you're experiencing from the body and also experiencing from the skin.
All right. Gora, thank you for your time and your insights this morning. That's Dr. Maureen Alam, who is a medical doctor and an aesthetic expert. Brings us to 8 a.m. and N. Musa is on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top story, court to rule on Zuma's acquittal bid, and US renews AGOA for another year. Good morning. Judge Nkosinathi Cili is today expected to make a ruling in the application of former President Jacob Zuma and French arms company Thales in the High Court in Pietermaritzburg. Zuma applied for leave to appeal his earlier ruling in which he dismissed their application for acquittal. Zuma had joined Thales in the application for acquittal The company has argued it would suffer prejudice as it could not test the state's evidence because its former employees, who were key witnesses in the case, have died. Zuma and Talis face charges of racketeering, corruption, fraud and money laundering related to the 1990 controversial multi-billion rand arms deal. 2 VIP protection officers assigned to the mayor of the Madibeng local municipality in the northwest are expected to appear in the Pretoria Magistrates Court for bail application tomorrow. Tabang Sohole and Michael Makampe allegedly shot and killed a member of the SANDF after forcing him to pull over on the R80 near Mabopane last month. They face charges of murder and defeating the ends of justice. The National Prosecuting Authority spokesperson, Lumka Mahanjana.
It is alleged that on the 28th of January 2026, the deceased and his wife, who are both members of the SANDF, were driving along R80 when they were forced to pull over on the side of the road by the 2 accused persons who questioned them about their missing rear number plate before returning to their car. When the deceased followed them, the 2 accused persons allegedly shot him in the head, where he died on the scene.
Retired KwaZulu-Natal Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Moipone Noko, is expected to testify before the Nkabinde inquiry when it resumes its hearings in Pretoria today. She'll be the second witness to testify before the inquiry, which retired Justice Besi Nkabinde chairs. The inquiry is probing suspended South Gauteng Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Andrew Chauke's fitness to hold office. The inquiry was forced to reschedule the resumption of its proceedings after former National Prosecuting Authority head Advocate Shamila Butwe walked out during cross-examination. The inquiry's term has been extended until June after its initial 4-month mandate expired at the end of last month. Faniel Schumer reports.
Advocate Batoy, whose term ended last month, suspended her testimony to seek legal counsel. Evidence leaders told the inquiry they were struggling to secure witnesses in the racketeering case involving the former KwaZulu-Natal Hawks head and the Katomena police unit. Among those expected to testify is retired Advocate Moipone Noko, who during her tenure as KwaZulu-Natal DPP was criticized for withdrawing charges against politically connected individuals, while pursuing racketeering charges against former Hawks boss, Major General Johan Boysen, and members of the Katomena police unit.
U.S. authorities have reauthorized the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, following its expiration last year, September, to the 31st of December this year. The program has now passed both the House of Representatives and the Senate. In a vote on Friday, the Senate whittled down to 12 months a 3-year extension that the House had passed earlier. This after the Trump administration expressed support for a limited extension. Showan Bryce Peace reports.
The 1-year extension leaves less than 11 months of the free trade agreement in place that is currently still undercut by President Donald Trump's reciprocal tariffs imposed on African countries, including South Africa. The U.S. Supreme Court is weighing the legality of those tariffs after 2 lower courts ruled that Trump overstepped his authority by imposing the trade levies. The administration earlier signaled it was in favor of a 1-year extension of AGOA, while lawmakers have stressed that the president retained the power to include or exclude countries from the program. South Africa's inclusion is likely to hinge on a decision from the White House after at least one Republican senator already argued for the country's exclusion.
And finally, London police have launched a criminal investigation into Peter Mandelson, the former minister and former British ambassador to Washington. This is in the wake of new revelations about his ties to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Mandelson resigned from the governing Labour Party on Sunday. In his statement, he also reiterated his regret about his continued association with Epstein, apologising to the women and the girls who suffered. The BBC's Chris Mason has the details.
So easily, this could have been a very significant but ultimately historic unpacking of events more than a decade and a half ago. And instead, it is very real and very live for the government now because of the Prime Minister's decision to send Lord Mandelson to Washington. Briefly, a word on Lord Mandelson. No public remarks from him today, but it's my understanding that he doesn't believe he has acted criminally, that he didn't act to gain from this personally, and he will cooperate with the police. As far as the Prime Minister is concerned, I expect a punchy performance from him at Prime Minister's Questions in the Commons at lunchtime.
Recapping the top story, Judge Nkosinathi Cili is today expected to make a ruling in the application of former President Jacob Zuma and French arms company Thales in the High Court in Pietermaritzburg. For SFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In the month of secret admirers, it's no secret that Outsurance could save you money on your car insurance. Like 32-year-old Parushka, who saves a whopping 729 Rand on her 2020 Haval H2. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
Very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines. Soccer action. Kaizer Chiefs begin the defense of their Nedbank Cup title tonight away to Stellenbosch FC. And in cricket, the Proteas have one final tune-up before the T20 World Cup. They have a clash against India also today. The details just before 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Very heavy delays on the M14, the Krugersdorp Highway heading to Pretoria. Big backlogs there from the R55 Pretoria West exit all the way up to the N1 Brakfontein interchange. A bit of traffic coming out of Pretoria on the M1 South as well. It's slow this morning from Atterbury Road all the way down to about Buata Avenue before you're out of that. Joburg's M1 North from Soweto through to Randburg stays heavy after an earlier crash up by 14th Avenue. And the N1 from Eldos up through Dipcliff still very busy as well. And don't forget, if you come in on the R82 up from Walkerville across from sort of Lenasia and up at sort of Aiken off into Kibler Park, there's a big backlog on that R82 route this morning. Traffic lights out around Ottawa. Verulam through to Phoenix is quite slow. There's a big backlog on the M19 from Claremont, New Germany side towards Springfield Park. The M19 queuing heavily through Reservoir Hill, through the M2 and down towards Umgeni Road. Inbound very slow. The M7 crash at Belleville Road in the Queensborough area still holding you up if you are bluff bound this morning. And Cape Town, the N1 into town, solid from Belleville all the way through to the city centre. Marine Drive still busy. Tableview right through to Pardon Island. And the N7 north out of Goodwood heavy up to Bosmansdam Road. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
10 minutes after 8. Welcome to the third hour of the Morning Brief on this Wednesday. It is absolutely great to be in your company. I do see the flaw. You've heard a lot from us. We haven't heard nearly enough from you over the last 2 hours. Let's try and fix that. Let me start with some of your messages that have come through from the WhatsApp line. Tulani Dasa talking about the DA leadership and says there are many capable people that can take the DA forward. Let's kindly wait for John's press conference and DA internal nomination processes. DA members will decide in the DA elective conference. It's only the media that would spin this narrative that the DA is without leaders or that the pool is very small. The DA is a leadership party, which means that we have vast groups of leaders who can enter the race at any time. Not parties like the PA, EFF, NCC, MKP and others that would collapse if their leader or president steps down. Tulani Dasa says. Tulani. I don't know if you needed to bring the other parties into that conversation. But anyway, I appreciate it. I don't think anyone is suggesting that there's going to be a void, that the DA will battle to replace John Steenhuisen. I certainly haven't seen that kind of commentary. Unless, I don't know. I haven't seen it at all. So speaking of that then, commenting about other political parties, Sipho says, this trend of other political parties interfering with ANC internal politics has extended to the DA. Why Mulder and Creel are interfering and commenting with the DA, Steenhuisen, with the assistance of the media. No lesson of Zille comment about Patrice is the question that Sipho is asking. So why do we have Mulder, Creel, interfering and commenting about the DA with the assistance of the media, asks Sipho. So stick to your lane, basically seems to be the message from Sipho. I'll read this message from TG because it relates to a criticism that has been leveled at us in the past, and we took cognizance of it, and perhaps we have not done enough to fix the issue of the diversity of voices commenting on some of the stories that we put out. So let me read it, and I think I've made my comment already and will not comment beyond that. Take cognizance of it once again, and seeking to be more intentional in trying to achieve diversity of voices and perspectives. So TG says, it seems to me that the analyst that you have, that you use on the Russian Federation and Ukraine issue are supporters, the analysts that is, are supporters of Ukraine and Brussels. And this is a program or propaganda against President Putin and the Russian Federation and its supporters like me. And the front line is clearly favoring Moscow, and this guy never criticizes Brussels' weapons support to the puppet regime, says TG there. And as I said, perhaps diversity is something that we need to look at different perspectives that would bring in that element that you are talking to there, TG. And lastly, someone had a question for Makhosi Tobagale, the Commissioner of Correctional Services, and basically said, please ask the Commissioner of DCS about our family members that are complaining that there is not enough food to feed them at Khoshe Mampuru Center, local and central Pretoria. Due to overcrowding and mismanagement of funds, inmates are going hungry and the management refuses family members to bring in food items. That is concerning, isn't it? I think perhaps there's room for a follow-up, the team taking note of that. That would be something we follow up with the Judicial Inspectorate on Correctional Services, I believe. They would be the ones who attend to the issue of welfare of inmates, particularly where you allege that there's no food, there's a shortage of food, yet family members are being denied the right to bring in food from the outside. The number to dial 086 000 2032. 086 000 2032. You can send us a WhatsApp voice note 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The third hour of the morning brief on this Wednesday.
In life's most challenging moments of loss, compassion can be your greatest comfort. You shouldn't have to face the financial burden of losing a loved one by yourself. Rest assured, Clientele's funeral plans pay out cash within 24 hours. You can cover up to 13 family members on one plan, ensuring all your loved ones are taken care of, and 3 children are covered at no additional cost. With Clientele, you are not just buying a plan, you are also buying peace of mind. When the time comes, you will need to make important calls with your 200 Rand airtime you will receive when you claim. Plans offer double accidental death cover as well as a transport, grocery and unveiling benefit. Apply today, it's easy. There are no medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
16 minutes after 8. This next conversation is brought to you and sponsored by the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture in KwaZulu-Natal, and we'll be talking to Mtomuhle Kaula, the MSc of that department. We are talking about the partnership between the department and the Symphony by the Waters. The Symphony by the Waters is billed as a celebration of music, art and nature set against the stunning backdrop of the Midma Dam. And if I'm not mistaken, that's coming up on the 7th of March. But the MEC will be able to clarify and set me straight if I'm wrong. MEC, good morning and thank you for your time this morning. Why was it important for the department to partner with the Symphony by the Waters?
Makusha, good morning to yourself. Good morning to your listeners at home. It's a very good program, Makusha, and the listeners at home. We were invited by the Deputy Minister of in the Presidency of Women and Children, Honorable Steve Litsegi, last year. In fact, the gist of the matter was to raise awareness of gender-based violence against children and women. Where we had build-ups, we started around Pietermaritzburg, where we visited some homes to raise the awareness. We also had a symposium at the University of KwaZulu-Natal in Durban to culminate into this program, which is called Symphony by the Water, where we are bringing together art, music, and nature at Midma Dam. So it was very important for us because in the program, we are also going to be showcasing up-and-coming artists in the schools around Pietermaritzburg. There is Adams College, there is Kwapata and other schools. There is the Zulu Kingdom Choir. But at the same time, whilst raising this GBV awareness, he also celebrates music. He also showcase up-and-coming talent. You also have got the matured talent. We are bringing the KZN Philharmonic Orchestra. What is important is it will be also featuring Don Laga, the KZN Philharmonic Orchestra. So it's a combination of a lot of issues together, raising awareness, enjoying music, enjoying art, enjoying scenery, at the same time contributing to the fight against the abuse of women and children in South Africa and KwaZulu-Natal. So it was important for us because as the department in the province, we are the custodians of moral regeneration and social cohesion. So it ties well with our programs, at the same time giving entertainment to the people. There will be opportunities for the up-and-coming small businesses who will be also doing trade in terms of the traditional dishes of KZN and Zulu traditional dishes. So it's a lot of things together. At the same time, families are being entertained and are enjoying themselves.
Sure.
So that is what the day is bringing.
Multifaceted from what you've described. But what about this element of local artists and the creative economy in that locality? How does that benefit from this partnership?
Well, it's a lot of benefit for that. Like I was saying, our school choirs who have done well both in the province and also nationally. For example, Adams College is our provincial champions for 2025. They are also the national champions in the schools in South Africa. They will be performing there. There are also up-and-coming artists in orchestra who are being nurtured by the KZN Philharmonic Orchestra, but also the already matured artists in the orchestra. They will be performing. So it's a combination of a lot of things together. We are featuring the up-and-coming talent, also combining it with the already matured talent, and that for us is helping because it enables us to have this continuity in terms of the talent that we have in art and music in the province. And also those who are also trading economically, there are benefits because the Department of Economic Development will also be screening and also bringing those who can do traditional dishes in the name of KZN traditional dishes and Zulu traditional dishes, who will also be allocated spaces there to trade. There's issues of accommodation and so on and so forth. So the day, whilst it has this aspect of awareness, whilst it has this aspect of enjoying yourself, it has this aspect of nature and talent, but at the same time, there are also economic spin-offs for the people around Pietermaritzburg and Umgeni in the Mid-Matem. Mid-Matem is very beautiful, so we are inviting the whole of South Africa to say this is a day not just for KwaZulu-Natal. It's a day where we are saying South Africans come and experience nature at the Mid-Matem and also listen to music and also bring families to enjoy the day, at the same time contributing to this fight against gender-based violence in the country.
Locate this partnership for us, MEC, within your other efforts, your broader efforts to encourage access to the arts and culture and other initiatives. How does it fit in with those other initiatives?
We are a department that has got a mandate from government to identify talent, to nurture talent, and to have talent spread out to the country, to the world. So it features well with our programs, with our mandates, with where we have to account, because we have to account on some of these key areas as a department as to whether we have been able, are we successful in identifying and nurturing talent. So it is giving us that opportunity. So as a department, this collaboration for us is very important because it allows us to also do something where we are saying it's a contribution to the fight against gender-based violence, it's a contribution to entertainment, it's a contribution to showcasing nature, it's also a contribution to our key performance areas where we have to account that there is talent in the province and it is showcased and it is developing. So it ties well with our programs of the province. But also, in respect of social cohesion and moral regeneration, it says a lot, it does a lot for us. So it ties well with all our programs. And like I'm saying, we are saying South Africa, this is an opportunity to come and experience KwaZulu-Natal, to come and experience Umgeni, Umgundlovu at Midma. It's a beautiful scenery. Whilst enjoying the scenery, you are listening to very, very interesting music of some of the up-and-coming talent and also developed talent. KZN Philharmonic Orchestra is one of the orchestras that has survived and has done very, very well post-1994. And we are saying as a province, we are very proud of this orchestra. Come and listen to it and see what it can do to yourself, you know, to your mindset, psychologically, and also giving you very, very nice and live music.
All right, MEC, thank you for that. MEC Mtomuhle Kaula, who's MEC for Sports, Arts and Culture in KwaZulu-Natal.
The Cherries won victory as a cherry on top of home ground advantage.
Backwards, still there for Bournemouth, not bundled home yet. Now it is! Bournemouth 3, Liverpool 2, stoppage time was up.
Meanwhile, the villains believe regular wins will position them in the top 4 bracket.
Oh, what a goal! Emiliano Buendia salutes the Villa fans. Some lovely approach play from Aston Villa, and what a finish from Buendia. Straight into the corner.
This is the Premier League. AFC Bournemouth versus Aston Villa, the Saturday 7 February at 4:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The boys of Lithono Siema have a clear mandate to ensure joy remains in the City of Roses. However, the Natal Rich Boys insist on a ticket to the last 16.
This is the Nedbank Cup last 32. More than a number.
Catch Suelele FC versus Richards Bay FC this Sunday, 8 February at 5:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 1. Then on SABC radio stations at 6 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game. The Glamour Boys want to raise a poster written Amakhosi Ajabulile, but the Green Eagles say they enjoy flying with 3 points. This is the CAF Confederation Cup. Do not miss out on Kaizer Chiefs versus Al Mazri Sporting Club on Sunday, 8 February at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 1. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
All right, let's go straight to the calls. Let me start with Vuyiswa in Parktown. Vuyiswa, good morning. It's been a while. Awusafoneli wenze njani? Saxabana.
Angithandi, because you don't take my calls.
So it's on me.
You know what? I'm a black sheep of the house. Xa ungathandwa, you just make sure that you to stay away.
Today you're not the black sheep. Please go ahead.
Yes. I want to speak to the name change of series or whatever place. You know, for me, I get so offended when people come in and say it's for tourism. For what? Remember what our ancestors went through. The Koi or Amampondo, Amazulu, when they came, the colonizers, to take over the land and change the name, indigenous names, Lapalala Ikas. And if when in your history you don't have a family, I mean to say, I'm not addressing you alone.
Yes.
You don't have a history of family members or ancestors that were massacred for that, then you don't have to feel anything. You want to do it for tourism. Because I'll give you the example before I conclude.
Yeah.
Nkosi Shaga, when they arrived, and they were actually coming in numbers, and then he actually addressed his courtiers and said, "Kucho ukuthi kukhona ukho ngathi, kukho utho ngathi," you know. Then they changed it to Tongati. But King Shaka was remarking at the way they were arriving. That's why he said, "Kucho ukuthi kukho utho ngathi."
Kukhona utho ngathi. Kwasekuthiwa utho ngathi.
Yes.
Yes.
So Gengogo, it's not the only example I can give you because I do a lot of. I'm a historian. I'm a political scientist.
There are a number of those, right? That were initially named.
So
There's
we are stuck with this Tongati, which has no meaning.
Yes.
You understand? Yes. And that's not the only place. There are rivers. Another thing that they came and named after them, besides, you know, this genocide of a period of time, killing people. They massacred. You must go to the frontiers in the Eastern Cape, the history of Sandile.
So in brief then, Vuyiswa, before I let you go, you are saying that it's important to also preserve that aspect of our history.
Yes, because if you don't care about your history, you want to remain in the plantations.
All right.
You know, a lot of people, they want to remain in the plantations.
Vuyiswa,
so we want to come out of the plantation.
Thank you, Vuyiswa. Thank you for that. That story about the places named by King Shaka, I've always been fascinated. Amanzimtoti, because it didn't want to use the word Amnandi Lamans, because Nandi was his mother's name, respected his mother so much. Well, at least that's the story I've heard. I may be wrong, I'm no historian, that then it had to find a way that this water is. Then Kwatuguza, where he survived an assassination attempt and said, Abang Kwazang, Abang Duguzile, you know, the steps were, Duguza, and it wasn't, it didn't. Anyway, JCK Kaunda, good morning.
Thulas, are you well?
Very well. How are you? Please go ahead.
Thulas, let's agree with former President Thabo Mbeki had groot gemaak in South Africa. Let's agree. Let's tell each other the truth. Let's not hide behind the broomstick.
Yeah.
You know, President Mbeki shut down Nurses College, Teachers College. Today our kids don't have space in universities. Post-apartheid, there's no planning. People are just planning to fail. Look, MECs, ministers, go and attend celebration or class of 2025 2026 those matriculants. But deep inside, they know that they didn't plan for them. Now that my kid or do you understand? But he can't find space.
Yeah.
Just because of our leaders who can't play. What's going on?
So you're saying the crisis we're living with, we are living with now, has its genesis within the Mbeki administration and Mbeki era.
Mbeki is Tell me, we don't have teachers' college, nurses' college, we don't have railways, we don't have because of Tabambeki and his team. Today our children are suffering. Tell me if my kid is at home, with a distinction and everything, seated at home the whole year. What is going on? Which means we don't have leaders. Those people are just there for their for their selfish intentions, not to save us as community. That is worries me more, man.
Jessica, please rest your case for me, brother. I have to go to the news.
Let me rest my case for now. Jessica, counter from Sina.
Jessica, thank you for that. Let's go to news. Sorry. Time and again I do this. Press the button. And Musa on standby with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, the DA in the city of Ekurhuleni has raised concerns over salary increases awarded to two senior officials who are now on precautionary suspension. Both officials are currently suspended pending investigations linked to separate allegations from the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry. Judge Nkosinathi Cili is today expected to make a ruling in the application of former President Jacob Zuma and French arms company Thales in the High Court in Pietermaritzburg. Zuma had applied for leave to appeal his earlier ruling in which he dismissed the application for acquittal. And retired KwaZulu-Natal Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Moipo Ninoko, is expected to testify before the Nkabinde inquiry when it resumes its hearings in Pretoria today. She'll be the second witness to testify before the inquiry, which retired Justice Bess Nkabinde chairs. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Heads up, if coming out of Pretoria and you're at Shoshanguve, just expect some delays on the mighty Montpellier Highway around the bend and on to Theo Martin's. Quite a heavy backlog to work through there. Crash on Joburg's N3 north of Beclue interchange earlier has just been clear, but it's left a backlog to come through from Alex up through Limbro Park and towards that one. Crash on Grayston Drive at Catherine. So whether you're coming in from Wynberg or off the Mike 1 Highway or coming down from Barlow Park on Catherine, very heavy congestion. And because Grayston Drive is so badly backed up, you're going to sit on the highway, but Mike 1 just to get off and to get into Greyston. Lights are still off. 14th Avenue, Hendrik Portketer. There's a big mess across that N1 bridge system out that way. Durban's Umgeni Road coming to Springfield Park has been heavy. Queues from Reservoir Hills on the M19 across the N2 and then down towards Alpine Road. It's all really badly quite snarled up through there. The M7 queues at Queensborough and then queues again down to Bel Air and Wakesley Road. 2 queues to work through if you're bluff bound. Cape Town, very unusual backlogs on Baden-Powell Drive towards Muizenberg at Strandfontein for this time of morning. You might know what that's all about. Make sure you give yourself plenty of time or stay away from it for a while. And just high volume all over Cape Town, particularly routes like Cromboom Road coming from Rondebosch East across into Rondebosch, Campground and Palmyra and Kierboom, Main Road through Newlands, all the southern suburbs just really quite heavily congested. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning to you, Zai. So focus turns to the Nedbank Cup this evening. Tell me about Amakosi going out to begin their title defense.
Yes, they are, Thulas. We've got Zelma on the button, so I have to be very careful what I say. She's a she's a Chiefs supporter, so it's a big night for Amakosi, and I feel like the sound might just be louder tomorrow if Chiefs win. But let's hear from their co-coach Cedric Kaze about tonight's battle when they face Stellenbosch FC.
Every team, the players needs clarity. It's a very important thing when players have clarity, when players know the tactics. And the tactics is not about how you play, but to understand or to make them understand and make them believe that this is our weaknesses, this is our strong points. Then let's play on our strong points to try to minimize on our weaknesses. For example, last season conceding a lot of goals on crosses, a lot of goals on set pieces, a lot of goals on counter-attack and intensity and transition. now everyone knows that how we set up on set pieces are important. How when we have the ball, we need even to be more careful by having a rest defense that is dynamic and well structured to not allow those counter-attack and transition. That's one of the things I would say that you show the players. They believe in what you are showing, and they see that it works, and that gives them more confidence and buying into the project.
That's the Kaizer Chiefs co-coach Cedric Kaze on the morning brief. Let's go now to another match that's also kicking off at 7:30 p.m. Mamelodi Sundowns begin their campaign tonight against lower division side Gomora United at Loftus Versfeld. Masandawana have a strong history of avoiding cup upsets and are expected to field a powerful lineup as they look to reset after mixed results in the league as well as the CAF competition. Cricket, the Proteas have one final tune-up before the T20 World Cup. They have a clash against India today. Kagiso Rabada will be in top rhythm together with Ryan Rickleton as well as David Miller, needing time in the middle ahead of the big stage. South Africa open their World Cup campaign against Canada. That's on Monday. Now, the Lions captain, Frank Horn, says the response to their heavy derby defeat must start with individual accountability. After slipping outside the URC playoff, the positions following the loss to the Bulls, he is saying improvement will only come if execution matches effort.
Every player needs to take accountability for their job, and I think we lost 5 or 6 lineouts, especially in the second half, and we probably didn't get more than 1-2 phases. I mean, you saw the last try we scored, we kept the ball for 5 phases and we scored easily, and that's a big frustration. So players need to take accountability for what we did out there. Obviously it's a team sport, but the individual must also do his part.
And finally, motorsport. Williams have unveiled the livery for their new Formula One challenger, the FW48, ahead of the 2026 season. Williams retained their driver lineup with Carlos Sainz Jr. entering his second season at the team and Alexander Albon continuing into his 5th. That's your sport. John Gericke brings you more around 12:30 for SAFM. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Hey Ndauling, good morning to you once again. Let's start with M&A activity in the mining sector, and it's got these links, Glencore, the DRC and the United States. Tell me about Glencore and selling off of that significant stake.
So the miner is in talks to sell a 40% stake in its copper and cobalt operations in the DRC to a US-backed consortium in a move aimed at securing Western supply chains for critical minerals. Now, the proposed transaction would see US development finance institutions support investment into Glencore's DRC assets, aligning with Washington's push to reduce reliance on China-dominated mineral supply routes. U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Lando said the deal supports the U.S.-DRC strategic partnership by encouraging American investment and ensuring reliable flows of key minerals used in electrical vehicles, renewable energy, and defense technologies. Now, these talks come as President Trump launched a U.S. strategic stockpile of critical minerals backed by $10 billion in public funding and private capital. Now, if concluded, the deal would strengthen U.S. access to critical minerals while allowing Glencore to retain operational control of the assets.
So it's no longer just on paper, it's happening, this quest for DRC minerals, those critical minerals that the President of the United States has been talking about from time to time. Talk to me about Harmony Gold and them saying that they're tracking well in as far as meeting their full year guidance.
You're absolutely right there, Thulas. The miner still expects to produce 1.4 to 1.5 million ounces of gold this year. And of course, that's thanks to higher gold prices, which boosted revenue per ounce and continued strong free cash flow that helped manage short-term operational disruptions. Now, talking about its operational performance, Harmony faced some challenges during its second quarter, including a mill motor failure and a delayed gold shipment at its Hidden Valley mine in Papua New Guinea, as well as lower metallurgical recoveries at a cyanide shortage in South Africa. Harmony says these are temporary issues and that higher precious metal prices are providing a cushion. The miner also has exposure to copper. It's added that the integration of its CSA copper mine in Australia is progressing well, and the Eva copper project is moving into construction. We'll get more details when it releases its interim results on the 11th of March.
So, Ndawling, what kind of a trading day are we looking at on this Wednesday?
Local markets are set to open higher as gold continues to gain ground. Traders will keep an eye on first quarter results out from SAPI and an update from Vodacom. Then moving over to the currency scene, the rand is firm against major pairs, trading at 15.94 to the dollar, 21.87 to the pound, and 18.86 to the euro. In commodities, oil is trending higher near $67 a barrel amid renewed Middle East tensions, further raising supply disruption concerns. And then back to equities, US futures are mixed this morning ahead of Google's parent company Alphabet's earnings, which investors hope could revive the AI trade. Now, tech stocks remain under pressure, and the sell-off is also spilling over into Asia today, with those markets on track to close in negative territory.
Ndawling, thank you for today. Let's talk again tomorrow. That's Ndawling Lechela. Having kept you always right on the money is Ndawling Lechela with updates on business, economics, and the markets.
Abafana Bestende want this to be a happy weekend for their fans. But Mswenko boys want to brag with a win on their way back to Northwest Province.
This is the Nedbank Cup Lost 32. More than a number.
Catch Golden Arrows versus Orbit College this Saturday, 7 February at 5:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 6 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game. The Glamour Boys want to raise a poster written Amakhosi Ajabulile, but the Green Eagles say they enjoy flying with 3 points. This is the CAF Confederation Cup. Do not miss out on Kaizer Chiefs versus Al Mazri Sporting Club on Sunday, 8 February at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
All week long, we are saying yes to a first for Africa. For the first time in its 60-year history, the Montreux Jazz Festival is coming to African soil, and it's happening in Franschhoek. Say yes to the first artist reveal on the Archers stage, featuring Salif Keita, Mandisi Tyankis, Billy Monama's Guitar Convergence, and the Cassivan I'm a Big Band experience. And say yes to the Jazz Village with intimate performances by Madala Gunene with Sibusi Leklaba and Kwanti Le with Herbie Tswayedi, Andile Yenana, Ayanda Sigate, and Sisonke Konti. This is just the beginning. Many more acts to come. Tickets for the Archers are on sale now at ticketmaster.co.za. Montreux Jazz Festival, Franschhoek, presented by Nedbank. Say yes.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SFM Radio.
So the 3rd to the 7th of February is National Pregnancy Week. So we are encouraged to focus on the various aspects of the phenomenon that is pregnancy. Pregnancy is, for the most part, a joyful time of great expectations. Yet for many women, it is also marked by fear, sadness, and anxiety, as well as emotional distress. During this National Pregnancy Week, the South African Society of Psychiatrists, SASOP, is highlighting the serious risks of untreated depression and anxiety during pregnancy and urging women to not stop psychiatric medication without medical advice. Let's speak to Professor Renata Schoeman, who is Head of Healthcare Leadership at Stellenbosch Business School. Good morning to you, Prof, and thank you for your time. So this is an important topic because we tend to focus on mental health postpartum, but there's a whole field of focus prenatal. Talk to me about that. What are some of the factors that we should be aware of in the prenatal period?
Good morning. I think it's very important that we shift from just focusing postnatal to the perinatal period, i.e. before pregnancy, during pregnancy, and after pregnancy. We know that in South Africa, between 16 and 50% of women experience depression or anxiety during pregnancy, and up to 1 in 10 are at a high risk of suicide. This is common conditions, and it can be treated. Otherwise, it can have serious and sometimes tragic consequences. We must remember that during pregnancy, there's a lot of hormonal changes that is happening at risk for mental health disorders. But as we understand that many women already struggle with mental health issues prior to falling pregnant. And then women that's pregnant is not free of being exposed to the normal life stresses. They can still experience other losses, other illnesses, other financial distress, etc. So you just have an added layer of the risk for developing depression and other mental health conditions during pregnancy.
So there are the psychosocial elements to deal with during that period, but also talk to me about the common misconceptions about antidepressants and whether or not they are safe to use during pregnancy.
Women are very, very scared of using medication. I think social media often are ill-informed in terms of what medication can do or the potential harmful focus that it has, and only focus on the harms and not seeing the benefits the medication have and how protective it can be and improving the outcome. In general, current evidence shows that most antidepressants, including SSRIs, are generally safe during pregnancy when carefully prescribed and monitored. And the risk of medication must be weighed against the very real dangers of untreated depression and anxiety. Untreated depression and anxiety increase the risk of premature birth, low birth weight, poor growth and development of the baby, struggling with bonding in the postnatal period, and postnatal depression, but even self-harm or suicide in the mom, and in rare but what is devastating cases, harm or death to the baby.
So what is the word there, Prof, for pregnant women? What are the signs to look out for that perhaps I may need to reach out to someone? When to reach out?
Obviously, the ideal is planned pregnancies. And if you already have a mental health condition that you receive treatment for, to discuss with your mental health care professional what is the plan pre-pregnancy, during pregnancy, and also in the postpartum period in terms of more frequent follow-ups or an adjustment of your medication should it be indicated. If you are not being monitored at the moment, you really should seek professional help. If you experience ongoing sadness or numbness or hopelessness, or if you're feeling chronically worried or experiencing panic attacks or even overwhelming fear, when you are paralyzed with tiredness and fatigue or sleep problems, appetite changes, some of these are normal for pregnancy, but if you are concerned, reach out. When you feel unable to cope or to function, and then if there's any sort of harming yourself or your baby, it is so important to have these discussions at the antenatal clinics with the sisters or even with your lactation specialist. But if you are currently seeing a mental health professional, to reach out early when you see the signs. Sometimes it's just a matter of reaching out and getting professional advice to put yourself at ease, but also when an adjustment in medication or initiation of medication is indicated, that it can be done timeously.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you. An important conversation to have. That's Professor Renata Schoeman, Head of Healthcare Leadership at Stellenbosch Business School.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Still sluggish coming out of Soweto on your way through to Ridderpoort and Randburg today. There was a crash at 14th Avenue which backed things up. That's been cleared, but there's now some roadworks that are underway this morning. N1 north by Gordon Road, and that's why it's still slowed back. back towards about the Main Reef Road Bridge. Mike 1 from Gold Reef City through to Schmidt Street, going into the city centre. That's busy. Last of the back hour still queuing through Deep Cliff Interchange off the N1 North onto the N12. And some traffic lights out on Jan Smuts at Craig Hall Park. If you're leaving Randburg on your way to Hyde Park, that's still very busy as well. A lot of pressure into Buccleuch, N3 North from Alex and the N1 from Randburg. Heading up into Buccleuch Interchange. Both of those routes are fairly busy for this time of the morning. A lot worse than what you'd normally expect. Durban, the M19 Springfield Park is easing. There were some really big queues this morning coming in off the M19. It is busy as you sort of get past Macro down towards Alpine, but moving a lot better than it was. Breakdown on the N2 before Spaghetti Junction, so heavy queues from Umgena Road. Marin Hill Plaza on your way into Durban. That looking quite busy. There may be a breakdown just before you get to the plaza. And the M7 from Queensborough heading down to the Belleville Road exit, an earlier crash there. Still backing up traffic heading towards the Bluff. Still plenty of traffic out of Tableview this morning. Lights are down Bloberg and Kuberg, so that's really heavy. And a lot of other motorists just going the other way, jamming up West Coast Road Marine Drive through to Sunset Beach area. And a lot of congestion around Newlands, Rosebank and Claremont areas this morning. Also Rondebosch, Crombourne Road, Milner Road, those sort of routes. Just a lot of volume and slow go traffic. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Welcome to it. This is season 1 of Playlist happening right here at Maloka, and believe me, it's a party.
Set your reminder every Friday, 9 p.m. Playlist at Maloka is in the building.
Batao Batamane plan to enter the battlefield with Limpopo heat. Meanwhile, as a Minyamangenkani, party, Yonkindow, Iparapara, Yaphumelela.
This is the Nedbank Cup Last 32. More than a number.
Catch Chakuma Chamachibandera FC versus Orlando Pirates this Saturday, 7 February at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
All right, let me start with your voice notes. A lot. And I think let me not even explain what they're about. You will hear as they play because we haven't really had time. So here we go.
Thulas, good morning. Very sad about that impact factory closing down in Springs. But you wonder why the government doesn't act now and step in and say, right, we'll give you a reprieve. You don't have to pay corporate tax for the next financial year to try and stabilize it, see where it goes. Every possibility is the global oversupply will reduce, and the rand technically will probably weaken further down the line. So why not give it the ability to save 300 jobs, ride it out, maybe become more competitive, and try and save those jobs.
Yeah.
Brad Marisbeck.
Brad, thank you for that. I hear the points you're making. Early intervention as opposed to the situation we ended up facing with ArcelorMittal. We really cannot afford any more job losses. Creative thinking around tax incentives, but also what you do at the policy level. Absolutely, Brad. I'm in full alignment with you on that.
Well, as leadership tension.
Hi, it's very interesting that SAFM, when it comes to DA, the analysts that can be called, it's only Africans speaking, the white guys, not the black guys.
Yeah?
Yes, DA, it's a white party, we know, but you know, majority of votes into power are black people. Yet you don't allow our analysts to analyze it. You guys.
Okay, we heard you.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. It has become abundantly clear that the police service, SAPS, in general, in the majority, are the most corrupt people in this country. That we definitely live in a mafia state. There is no question about it. That the police who are supposed to protect us are the ones that are dealing guns, that are killing people, and that are committing most of the crimes in this country.
No, absolutely. It's a truly disturbing proposition, and it's becoming, the evidence is just coming out more and more. And it's always important to emphasize they're really good, committed police officers. And in fact, sometimes they find themselves on the receiving end of the backlash of their colleagues that work with syndicates and criminals. But what we're hearing from the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry really is disturbing. The ease with which police officers will screen grab details of the investigating officer in a murder case and share it with someone who's got a checkered, at the very least, checkered past and track record and sometimes suspected of criminality. It's just scary. It really, really is scary. See, Pingoku.
Good morning, Thulas and the team. Good show as always. Thulas, as you rightly put it, the context of John Steenhuisen is the credit card saga. The consequences is he is going to resign, Thulas. And the conversation is who is to be the next DA leader. That's BK here. Thank you.
Yeah, PK, that next is going to be an interesting conversation, and it will start to take shape, I suppose, after the announcement by John Steenhuisen. I suppose many more people will start to be emboldened and start to make themselves available and make it clear that they are seeking to be elected DA federal leader.
Morning, Thulas. People like Tabo Besta and Kate Matlala, these people have got money. They must pay for their food in prison. They must contribute. They must pay for their food. They've got their money which they stole from the society. We can't keep on feeding them. Their families must contribute for these people because they're at a boarding school. They must pay for their food. Nothing for Mahala there.
Yeah.
Anonymous,
thank you. Remember, the whole approach around correctional services is that it says more about who we are, how we treat the worst, those we consider to be, quote unquote, the worst in our society. Says a lot about us, our character, our values. So I hear what you're saying, but also the money that you're saying they must use. If it's criminal proceeds, I'm going to say we take it through the, well, hopefully we do, through the criminal assets recovery account and then invest it in other crime-fighting elements. So therefore, on paper at least, they are not supposed to even have that money to be able to use it to sustain themselves while in prison. Lowered in Kiani, good morning. Avshane.
Abshane, Mr. Thulas.
Efukin, injani?
Efukin, one man.
Nine Fukin.
Okay, so man, no, I'm in the penultimate moment of my stay this side.
Yes, and the network is improving.
Yeah, but the next time I'll be speaking to you, I'll be back to the heartland that time.
Yeah, talk to me,
yes,
brother.
Okay, quickly, let me say I'm a bit perturbed, my brother, even unsettled because the assertion has been that the entire criminal justice system is infiltrated. But lo and behold, what I'm watching now is the focus is mainly on the police, which is well and good because anyone who transgressed the law has to be dealt with. But what about the NPA? What about the judiciary and the correctional services? Because from my standpoint, I can see that we are gradually reaching the perversion of these forums, like the Madlanga Commission and the ad hoc committee, because this is a make or break moment for our country. We cannot be missing out on this opportunity to root out the corruption, even within the NPA, within the judiciary, even to the correctional services. So I'm sure that the focus that is being directed to the staff has to be done on the other institutions as well, because otherwise this will be a wasted opportunity.
Yeah, Loward, I agree with you completely. Thank you for that. The terms of reference, of course, do cover all the other institutions that Loward mentions. I suspect no one anticipated the depth of the work, the scale of the work that would have to go towards the SAPS, the Metro Police in Ekurhuleni, before getting to these other institutions. But certainly it would feel as if the work of the Commission is not complete were they not to get to the other elements that were raised in those allegations, the other institutions that were raised in those allegations by General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi on July the 6th of last year. here. So we certainly wait with bated breath to see when do they move to the other institutions that Loward has mentioned. That will do it for today. Lubabalo, I do apologize. I will prioritize you. I give you my word. That's Lubabalo out in Cape Town there. No time to get to him. That's how we come to the end of today's edition of the Morning Brief. Thank you for listening. Do stay with the station. The Talking Point with Kete Muhlahlana is up next after the news with N. Musa. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. You've been briefed.
In our top stories, DA concerned over salary increases awarded to Madlanga Commission accused and court to rule on Zuma's acquittal bid. Good morning. The DA in the city of Ekurhuleni has raised concerns over salary increases awarded to two senior officials who are now on precautionary suspension. Caucus leader Brandon Pretorius says Kemi Bahari, head of legal services, and Linda Klaisheka, head of human resources, each received a 28% increase, about 585,000 rand, just 2 months after being appointed to their departmental posts. The officials are currently suspended pending investigations linked to separate allegations from the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Pretorius is DA's City of Ekurhuleni caucus leader.
In response to formal questions submitted in the January council meeting, the replies in black and white confirmed that both HOD Kemi Bihari and HOD Linda received a 28% salary increase amounting to 585,000 rand. This all happened in less than 2 months after the appointments. Perhaps it's also then important to note that within these same responses, it then further confirmed the subsequent 3% cost of living adjustment increase, which then pushed their annual remuneration from approximately 2 million rand to nearly 2.7 million.
Judge Nkosinati Tkili is today expected to make a ruling in the application of former President Jacob Zuma and French arms company Thales in the High Court in Pietermaritzburg. Zuma had applied for leave to appeal his earlier ruling in which he dismissed their application for acquittal. Zuma had joined Thales in the application for acquittal. The company has argued it would suffer prejudice as it could not test the state's evidence because its former employees who were key witnesses in the case have died. Zuma and Thales face charges of racketeering, corruption, fraud and money laundering related to the 1990 controversial multi-billion rand arms deal. Retired KwaZulu-Natal Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Moiponi Noko, is expected to testify before the Nkabinde inquiry when it resumes its hearings in Pretoria today. She'll be the second witness to testify before the inquiry, which retired Justice Bess Nkabinde chairs. The inquiry is probing suspended South Gauteng Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Andrew Chauke's fitness to hold office. The inquiry was forced to reschedule the resumption of its proceedings after former National Prosecuting Authority head Advocate Shamila Batwe walked out during cross-examination. The inquiry's term has been extended until June after its initial 4-month mandate expired at the end of last month. Faniel Schumer reports.
Advocate Batoi, whose term ended last month, suspended her testimony to seek legal counsel. Evidence leaders told the inquiry they were struggling to secure witnesses in the racketeering case involving the former KwaZulu-Natal Hawks head and the Katomena police unit. Among those expected to testify is retired advocate Moiponi Noko, who during her tenure as KwaZulu-Natal DPP was criticized for withdrawing charges against politically connected individuals, while pursuing racketeering charges against former Hawks boss, Major General Johan Boysen, and members of the Katomena police unit.
The Cancer Association of South Africa says the country's cancer burden is growing fast. It also says new cases